Dr. Lakshmipati Rao, the keynote speaker, and Dr. Bruce Matthew, the guest speaker, had elucidated on the significance of the outcome-based education on day one of the national workshop. I now call upon Mrs. Dhwani, Department of Statistics, Little Flower Degree College, to give a short recap of the session of the day one.
Good morning. Dr. Sister P. Amrita, Principal, St.Ann's College, Vice Principal Mrs. Jayanti Reddy, IQAC Coordinator, Little Flower Degree College, Dr. Smita Asthana, Dean, St.Ann's College, Dr. Bruce Matthew, MES College, and my dear colleagues present online as well as offline. Today, I'm here to present a brief summary of yesterday's session. Professor Lakshmipati Rao, yesterday's keynote speaker, elaborated the basics of OBE. He threw a light on the need for bridging the gap between academics and industry, need to learn new skills, abilities to adopt new technology, importance and implementation of OBE in Indian colleges and its origin, NAC's initiation of the process of OBE and various methods of mapping POs and COs. He specified OBE should not be a compulsion, but it should benefit the students. On the orientation day itself, the students should know the objectives of pursuing the program and each course under it, and should be able to demonstrate their skills after completion of the program. He said that we can understand OBE by answering the questions like, what do you want the students to learn? Why do you want them to learn it? How can you best help students to learn it? How will you know what they have learned? Professor also highlighted the meaning, challenges, and limitations of OBE. The other important point is that there is a gap in addressing the COs and POs. That gap should be bridged by adding additional certificate courses, value-added courses. Sir also suggested that each trainer should adopt various teaching techniques to reach the students. Finally, he concluded saying that any teaching learning pedagogy should help the students' progression. Later, Dr. Bruce Matthews, Principal, MES College for Advanced Studies, has further thrown light on why OBE is important in today's education scenario. He explained about need for T-shaped employee and how OBE is new paradigm in achieving it. He asked the faculty to arrange syllabus into knowledge structures so that the students have a continuity in understanding the subject. He suggested to look into UGC, LOCF, learning outcome-based curriculum for COs and POs of concerned subjects. Today, Sir will take us through types of OBE, framing and mapping of COs, POs, question paper setting, and much more. Let us all look forward for a great teaching learning pedagogy. Now I would like to invite Dr. Bruce Matthew to take over the session.
கேக்குறேன் போன் பண்றேன் போன் பண்றேன்
Yeah.
Good morning, all of you. Good morning, all of you.
Good morning, sir.
That is the energy we require for OB. So I'll quickly go through these slides, the remaining slides, what I was doing yesterday. I don't have much time to completely explain all those slides because of our restricted amount of time. I want my sessions to be completely learned by all of you rather than finishing my portions. Therefore, therefore, I'm taking some amount of time for the yesterday's session. The very basic fundamentals of OB yesterday. And why we require OB, what is the crux of OB? Basically, there are 3 different types of OB pedagogy, which you all need to know. The first one is the traditional OB, the transitional OB, and the transformational OB. 3 categories of OB or 3 variants of OB. The traditional OB, transitional OB, and the transformational OB. Let us quickly go through all these 3 different types of OB. Right.
Later we'll work out this part.
So traditional OB is the most simplest kind of OB, which measures the learning outcomes in terms of students' mastery of the established curriculum. They are just checking whether the student is a master in the curriculum. That is actually called as traditional OB. If you start speaking about the 3 different types of OB, it will again take 1 full day. So I'm not going to spend much amount of time. The second one is transitional OB. What is transitional OB? It measures the learning outcomes of students. The learning outcomes of students in terms of higher order competencies. When we discuss about higher order competency, when we speak of higher order competency, what do you mean by competency? It is a particular skill. It is a particular skill that is required to compete in the market. Bloom's taxonomy, not the old one. Are part of lower order thinking skills, and the next 3 are actually part of the higher order thinking skills. I want all of you to go through the revised Bloom's taxonomy verb source, because I doubt whether you have followed the old original Bloom's taxonomy coined in 1957. we have the 1991 document available. That is a revised Bloom's taxonomy, or otherwise called as RBT, proposed by Anderson and Krathwohl, two students of Bloom, Benjamin Bloom. So that is a transitional OBE which focuses mainly on the higher order thinking skills. And what we are going to see from today onwards is going to be the third category of OBE. That is nothing but the transformational OBE, which takes into account both the first one and the second one. That is to take into account the mastery of students, that is a traditional OBE, and also the higher order thinking skills, that is a transitional OBE. So the difference is in taking into account the higher competencies and taking into account combining this higher competency with the mastery. I'm sure both the colleges have master's degree programs, right? And master's degree program always requires or demands what is what? The higher order thinking skills, not the lower order thinking skills. Which means when you frame the curriculum, or when you frame the question papers, or when you frame assessment patterns, assessment techniques, it should always check for the students' higher order thinking skills rather than the lower order thinking skills. That is why it is called as undergraduate and postgraduate. It is a master's program, which means you are going for the master's mastery level of knowledge, not an intermediate level, not a beginner's level. And the word has its own very complex meaning. So in this transformational OBE, we are not only thinking about knowledge, we are also thinking about attitudes, we are thinking about generic competencies like communication, self-directed learning, professional ethics, aesthetic appearance. All these factors are considered along with certain attitudes and values. That is why it is difficult to implement transformational OBE rather than transitional or traditional OBE. But NAC purposefully suggests that all institutions in the higher order context have to go for this transformational OBE rather than simply adopting the traditional OBE or the transitional OBE. Let us come to the key focus of OBE. The key focus of OBE in single sentence is to have a clear set of learning outcomes. A clear set of learning outcomes. That means you require a clarity on all aspects of setting the learning outcomes. Right from setting the vision till collecting the alumni survey or alumni feedback, have to have a very strong, clear set of learning outcomes. The learning outcomes can be of three types as discussed yesterday. We have a broader learning outcomes like PO and a very shorter learning outcomes like UO. What is UO? It is unit outcomes. We were discussing about COs, and COs also has, as pointed out yesterday, a couple of units, or maybe 5 units, 4 units, 6 units, where you can also have unit outcomes. And if one unit has 2 or 3 modules, one unit has 2 or 3 modules. Generally, we confuse the word module and unit. But theoretically, those two are 2 different components. If you have multiple modules, you will also have module outcomes. For the time being, we are not going to module outcomes and unit outcomes, because in yesterday's last 20 minutes, I was discussing about not to have unit or modules in OB, but to have something called as KS, that's called as knowledge structures. Therefore, learning outcomes have to be framed, and all your activities related to OB, that is assessment, instructional delivery, planning, formulation, everything has to revolve around this clear set of outcomes. This is a vicious circle. And once you get out of this vicious circle, it is difficult again to get back into the circle. That is, establishing the conditions and opportunities within the system that will enable and encourage all students to achieve these essential outcomes. When I was traveling today morning, some teachers were telling me about the level of students that you get in the admissions. It is true, pan India. It's true. Same in Kerala, it's same in Assam. You go to Gujarat, it is same, except in few institutions. But it is the teacher's responsibility to make these students get converted to people who think on hordes rather than on lots. How do you insist students to think about think on a higher order thinking scale? Yesterday I was talking about critical thinking, which we will be dealing little in today's session. So what we require is a large set of activities in and outside the campus, in and outside the classrooms, not campus, in and outside the classrooms, that are designed in such a way that students finally meet these outcomes. So the final success of an outcome-based education is at a point when students meet the outcomes, not at a point when teachers finish the portions. Therefore, the method of curriculum design, the method of instructional delivery, the method of doing assessments, everything is left to teachers. And teachers are going to be the control point in a classrooms. And got a facilitators, not like teachers, it's a facilitator. A control point, a hub in a classroom, which controls and monitors the learning levels of students according to the kind of instructional delivery that you produce and the assessment pattern that you do. Remember that, recall that yesterday we were mentioning about assessment for learning. And that is a very important context in outcome-based education. It's not assessment for learning. Sorry, it's not assessment of learning. It is assessment for learning. And when you detailedly analyze about outcomes are nothing but actions. Student will be able to do something, not something, it's vague. We'll have to make it clear. Will be able to write a program on, because I am from computer science, students will be able to write a program to calculate matrices, the sum of matrices. Students will be able to, we'll see all those outcomes a little later. I have a sample set of outcomes. Yeah. So the top priority goes to four aspects: the ends, the purposes, the accomplishments, and finally the results. And very less priority to procedures and time, program, teaching, and curriculum. We don't have much emphasis on all these factors. Our emphasis is more on the purpose, the ends, what students are going to accomplish, and finally what is the result. Now see the examples of outcome-based education, outcome-based models that we had in our early years. The craft built of the Middle Ages. They were not writing in examination, they were creating something. And based on their creation, we used to evaluate them. Professional training in business, professional licensure, the pilot license and all, they don't write examinations. They demonstrate their skills. The karate instructions, the military training programs, scout merit badges, etc. So what we have in OB is a set of exit outcomes. What is exit outcomes? When they exit from a particular course, what are they able to do? Are they able to write a two-dimensional matrix of calculating a matrix? Or are they able to analyze on a poem? So, next one. This is actually the complete OB pyramid. We call it as 5 P's. The pyramid that was proposed by William Spady when he coined the term of outcome-based education. The 5 P's are paradigm, purposes, premises, principles, and practices. What do you mean by paradigm? The concept of OB, the purpose, you are equipping the students to do something. The premises, are students able to create something, build something? The principles, that is clarity of focus, expanded opportunity, etc. This is paradigm. What and whether students learn successfully. What do you learn? Whether they learn successfully is very important. Versus when and how they learn. Later we had a concept called when and how did they learn. But now it is what they learn and whether they learn. Earlier it was providing services. Teaching is a service. So you provide a service, you finish portions, you finish modules, you finish entire semester. But now it is accomplishing results. That is finally outcomes. That is what and whether students learn is very much important than when and how they learn something. In this context, I would also want to pinpoint one more statement as proposed by William Spady. In OBE pedagogy, there is only slow learners and fast learners. There are no failures. You have slow learners and you have fast learners. Some people learn very fast. Some people learn not so fast. But finally everybody learns. That is the focus. In our context, in the traditional context, it could be 2 semesters. The student would be taking 2 or 3 semesters to finish 1 semester. But finally they will also learn. That is the context. That is the background of all these entire discussions. Now, 2 purposes of OBE. Ensuring that all students are equipped with that particular knowledge, competence, and qualities that are required for the exit outcome. Qualities that are required for the exit outcome. And what is the second purpose? It is structuring and operating all the procedures so that these outcomes can be achieved and maximized for all students. Yes, true, everybody will achieve it. We will achieve it in different time frame. But our emphasis is to maximize its achievement through certain activities called as assessment. So these are the 3 permissions I think I will just keep off because of time limit. Now 4 principles I will just touch upon. The clarity of focus, which I was explaining from yesterday onwards. High expectations, we are not going for low expectations, we are always going for high expectations. We are actually designing down, not designing up. Not designing up, it is designing down. Which means, which one do you start first? Do you start the curriculum first or the vision and mission first? You start with vision and mission, come down to outcome statements, and then based on the outcome statements, you prepare what? Curriculum. Now, what is happening now? Reverse. The curriculum is made first, then according to the curriculum, you set the Objectives, not outcomes. And this objective and outcome doesn't go hand in hand because of the changing requirements of industry. The industry skills are getting changed day by day, weeks by weeks, and therefore that is one problem by which we cannot frame a proper outcome right now, because the curriculum is designed by somebody else who doesn't have any idea about what is exit outcome. And due to the enormous amount of assessment opportunities, enormous amount of experimentation on OBE, the opportunities are also expanded. That means teachers are always expecting for an expanded set of opportunities for students. Now, the learning outcomes, we have the lesson outcome, we have the course outcomes, we have the program outcomes, we have the degree level outcomes, program level outcomes, PEOs, PSOs, etc., etc. The principles are almost same. Next one. So this is the starting stage of OBE. This slide. What is the first stage? The first stage is defining the outcomes, and then what you have to do? Design the curriculum. This is the other way going around because of the affiliation system. I think that is one reason why government has ensured that at least in 2 years we will not be having an affiliation system. We will be having degree granting institutions and research institutions. I do not know what are the conditions underlying that, but that is a very positive step towards a complete implementation of OBE, which means we should have an autonomy on setting our own outcomes on the context of local needs. The Hyderabad will be having your own local needs. My state of Kerala or my district of Cochin, Ernakulam will be having my own local needs. And all institutions are catering to the local market at first hand, then only to the global market. So you have local requirements and you have global requirements. And according to the local requirements, you have to define your set of outcomes. Then you go for designing the curriculum. Once the curriculum is set, you start planning about your instruction. What method should you have? I recall yesterday that Dr. Lakshmipati Rao sir was mentioning about different types of methods in instruction delivery. It's not the same old chalk and talk method. It can be problem-centric method. It can be sort of proximal difference. It can be Kolb's theory of inferential learning. It can be something else. Modern pedagogical methods are increasing day by day, proven day by day, and any methods can be used. But finally, what matters is whether the learning has taken place. Whether the learning has taken place. And once you deliver the instruction, you start documenting it. That is a very important part in OBE. The documentation takes a hard amount of time. And I am very pretty sure that within IQAC itself, you have enormous amount of documentation process. OBE gives you a much more hectic time on documentation because everything has to be documented. The internal examinations, the feedbacks, the question papers, the planning process, the teaching process, the instructional delivery, the feedback of students on all classes, every week, every month, every hour, is all going to be documented. And I would suggest all of you, at least the senior faculties and the administrators, that for a successful implementation of outcome-based education in any campus, you would require a very sophisticated learning management system, LMS. It's very essential because documenting everything and storing it in hard papers is going to be very difficult, very Herculean task. That's what the primary aspect whenever you start with OBE is to have a very proper LMS. I'm not very sure about the LMS you have here or the other college. Anything you have, madam? You have, it's Moodle? I would suggest all of you to go for Moodle. It's my suggestion only. You have heard of Moodle? It's modular object-oriented dynamic learning environment. Pardon? Yeah. But Moodle has plenty of competency frameworks available, and that's free of cost. What is required is some amount of time that should be spent by your IT department or the computer science department. And wherever you have a strong computer science department, it's very easy to implement Moodle, provided you have a cloud. You have an internet facility and a cloud facility where everybody can access the Moodle sitting at your home or sitting at some other parts of the world. And when you start using this kind of a learning management system, you will have much more advantages on getting data. Now what you are suffering is about getting data. The data are all there in separate departments. It is there in physics department, it is there in chemistry department, all the data are different. And how to get the data from physics department, you have to get a request data to physics HOD, then do certain procedures. If there is some other issue, you don't get the data. But if it is in the cloud, or rather a central repository, it is easy for all of you. And most colleges, when they go for the NAAC accreditation process, a hard hell of time is spent for collecting data. That has to be overcome by using something called as an LMS or a central repository. You have heard of DSpace? DSpace can be used as a directory for storing data, or you can go for learning management systems. Or at the simplest mechanism, you can go for some other private clouds. Some private clouds where you can upload your data, store it, retrieve it as and when it is required by anybody. And once you document it, you have to monitor it. It's not for simply documentation. It's for monitoring the results. And only when you get the results, you will be able to tell your students where the students are actually standing. That is very essential. That means throughout my presentation, indirectly I am saying that the time spent for students are going to increase. It's not like 9 to 5, 9 to 3, 9 to 10. Sorry, 9 to 5 or 9 to 4. It's like 365, 24/7, 365. Which means we are online. The data is available. Whenever students require, you pump the data. Whenever other faculty is required, you pump the data. That is why I was mentioning about an LMS. And once you monitor the result, you determine the advancement of students, which is very essential. You have to communicate to students where the students are actually standing, whether they are getting some advancement. See the graph. What you are teaching, what outcomes do you want to achieve? How are you going to deliver the curriculum to students? How are you going to achieve these outcomes? Finally, was your teaching effective? Did you manage to achieve those outcomes? Only 3 important questions. No question regarding finishing of portions. No question regarding whether you have completed all examinations. It's only checking and underlying that the student has met the outcomes. This is what NAAC emphasizes from 2022 onwards throughout Pan-India, throughout India. Again, the same process which I was explaining from yesterday onwards. We set the performance standards and the credentialing structures. We have a clarity of focus. We have the curriculum content and articulation structures. We design the curriculum. Then we go to design the instructional interactions and technology structures. We have the 5 principles of OB in between. And then we have something called as documentation of all those performance standards and eligibility, promotion, assignment structure. I'll show you a simplest picture a little later. So the theoretical process of OB always focuses on constructive alignment. Have you heard of this term, constructive alignment? You construct knowledge from the older knowledges. It is constructive alignment. Some people call it as social constructive theory. People who have studied, gone for B.Ed and M.Ed, they would have got an idea about social constructive theory. And the the Moodle, which I was mentioning, is basically an LMS that was designed using this constructive theory, which was proposed by John Briggs. Next one. Yes. So, what is learning outcome? You have already mentioned the three broad types of learning outcomes, which is essential. Please note on that because we are going to deal with those three: the disciplinary knowledge, the generic skills, the attitudes and values. These are the three factors we are going to check whether the student has attained or not. The disciplinary knowledge and skills, sufficient skills. The generic skills like communication, like professional ethics, aesthetic appearance, moral values, etc., etc. And finally, attitudes and values. These three are very much essential to mold a student to a T-shaped employee. Yesterday I was mentioning about T-shaped employee. So to mold a student to a T-shaped employee, you require all these three parameters. I do not know whether I want to spend some time on designing a curriculum because that is not at our purview. So, let's straight away go to learning outcomes. Last paragraph, which is very important. What is a learning outcome? A learning outcome statement is always a statement that identifies most important learning requirements. If you analyze the syllabus, the curriculum of, let's say, programming in C, which is a computer course, you might come across 20 to 30 learning outcomes, depending on modules and units. But what you have to identify is the very important learning requirements with a proper and clear language understandable by students. It's not for you. It's not for the principal madam. It's not for any other administrators. It is for the students that you are writing. And who should understand it first hand? Students should understand it first hand. I had one document from one of the faculty members here about their PO, CO, and PSOs. And that is not written in a very simple statement, which students can understand. All outcome statements should be in a simple English, where at the first reading itself, a student should understand why he is studying a particular course, why he is studying a set of courses for a particular program, and what is his intended learning outcome. That is why we try to use clear languages that is understandable by students and any potential clients. I am speaking about all the stakeholders, the industry people, the alumni people, the teachers, non-teaching staff, administrators, parents. Everybody should understand these outcome statements. That means it must be such simple and clear, without having multiple intentions. We should have only single intentions. At times we can go for multiple intentions. I will show you simple examples. And writing learning outcomes, go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 4th one. Writing learning outcomes should be achievable and accessible. Not going for the higher order thinking levels at the first level itself, first hand itself. It should be achievable. Because NAC and all these accreditation agencies clearly say that there is only one point in accreditation. What you say should be met. You say what could be met. Rather than going for highly optimistic outcomes, go for simple outcomes at the first hand. And then as time passes, you start increasing the level of outcomes. So that sometimes the first accreditation process or the first cycle would be on a lots. But after 5 years, you have a gradual improvement from lots to notes. That is how you have to increase your question paper level also. You are slowly increasing the level of question papers so that the students also get a feel of this change. And all the learning outcomes that you write on your document as a piece of artifact for NAC and accreditation agencies should also relate to explicit statements of achievement. That is, level of understanding is very much essential. That's why we call it as L1 level, L2 level, L3 level, L4 level, L5 and L6. L6 means create. Yes, yesterday I mentioned about the difference between objectives and outcomes. Next one. Yes. This is what we are much bothered about. What is this? The RBT. What is RBT? The revised Bloom's taxonomy. See, three levels that instill critical thinking. We have the level 1, the lowest level called as remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. The creating is the most highest level. After applying, it is going to be hopes. Below analyze, it is going to be lots. Then we should understand where our outcomes are standing. You cannot go for remember and understand always. At times it is okay. Depends on the courses. Depends on the units or modules. Depends on the kind of situations. But generally, I would suggest all of you to go for your theory courses at a level of 3 or 4, a mini projects at a level of 5, and your main projects at a level of 6. Main projects, theory, mini projects and practicals at a level of 5, and main projects at a level of 6. Because this level is creating level, which is generally done in projects. So theory courses go for 3 to 4. Practicals and mini projects you can go for 5. Final projects you can go for 6. This is the ideal framing of levels in your outcome statements. Otherwise, these are not going to be met. It's only there in the papers. Yesterday, Professor was mentioning about the graduate attributes, right? What is your idea of graduate attributes? Can I have some information from your side? GA, graduate attributes. My question is whether the graduate attributes are same as POs. How many graduate attributes are standardized by NAC? Okay, there are 12 graduate attributes standardized by NAC. It is depicted in the last page of the NAC guidelines. It is same as the MBA graduate attributes. But ma'am was pointing out, it is not required that you take all as well. Maybe after 2-3 cycles you can go till 10, but not 12 completely. And you can also go for a 13th one or 14th one, other than the one listed here, which you feel it is very important. Yesterday I was mentioning about women empowerment by SNDP University. That you can do, provided if you mention the PO, it has to align in your courses also. Don't simply put something on PO and you do not touch upon through the entire courses. No, that's not permitted. At least some of the courses, some percentage of courses should touch upon these very unorthodox POs also. Yes, I've already mentioned all these things. Okay, this one. Next. Just skipping some slides because of time. Next. Previous one. I had asked everybody to go through the UGC document on LOCF.
Yes.
Have you?
Yes.
I should measure it. Next one. These are set of instructional deliveries which you can take down, note down, and try experimenting at your classes. See, there are 2 methods for face-to-face interactions. One is lecture method. The other one is the guest speaker method. Now, whatever name you call, I don't mind. Now, active learning. How is active learning happening? Presentations, tutorials, seminars, colloquiums, conferences, etc. How does cooperative and collaborative learning happens? Problem-based learning. Case studies. The management department will be very much familiar about the case studies, right? Case studies. Project-based learning. In IITs and IIMs, they do not start with no. If I take a course on computer science, they do not start with introduction, basic elements, components, like that. They do not start. They start with a problem, and then they come reverse. Understood? That is actually called as problem-based learning, which is the most essential method for stimulating critical thinking. But unfortunately, we are on the wrong track. What has been taught to us is the other way. You start with basics, you go to intermediate level, and then you go to advanced level. But, yeah. So problem-based learning is a very important methodology that you can all try, at least in your science courses. I do not speak about arts, oriental language, etc. At least in your science courses, you can go for problem-based learning. Case studies in some other courses, project-based courses. Now you have technology-based delivery coming up, online learning, which is very familiar because of this COVID pandemic. We have the teleconferencing mechanisms. We have the simulations. Now see, the experimental method is very important. What is experimental method? Students doing experimentation in laboratory works, demonstrations. You ask students to demonstrate something. Demonstrations, workshops. Then we have something called work-based learning. What is work-based learning? The practical courses. We have the industrial trainings. You have industrial visits and all. Don't just go and visit and come back. You should have industrial trainings. Work attachment. Some work to be attached along with the assignment or something. Field trips, visits. But unfortunately, all these visits turn to occur as picnic or a tour, right? These have to be changed because all these components are having mapping values in COPO matrix. Now, the stages of instructional delivery in OB. Yeah, as teachers, you all are familiar with this. How do you go and start your classes? You start with greetings. We warm up the class as today. Then we lead to the new program. You do a review, your class arrangement. Our basic focus is to make sure that you understand who are sitting on the other side, the students. What is their level? What do they already know? And what must they learn today? And what must they do to learn? Ultimately, our objective is the same as explained. Is learning happening? Again, instructional delivery and all, the workshop is not meant for that. Like, see, this is important. Learning retention ratio. Next one. Learning retention ratio. Reading. You will remember only 10% of what we read. You ask students to go and read something and bring. Yesterday I asked all of you to go and read something on LOCF. I'm very sure that only 10% gets retained. Hearing of words as done in lectures. How much percentage of retention? 20% only. You lecture for 1 hour, preparing 1 hour lecture, using your another 4 hours. And how much is retained? 20%. That means 1 hour class, 20% of time, 20 minutes are retained. That's all. That's why the ideal classes should be all on episodes. I've heard of episodes, right? Episodes means smaller chunks of an hour, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. But unfortunately, due to our administrative system, we are all working on 1 hour sessions or 45 minutes, 15-minute sessions. But researchers have proved that even if you spend a valuable, fruitful 15 minutes, at least 15% of that is going to be retained. You go to the last two, participating in a discussion
and giving a talk. How much percentage of retention? 70% of retention. You start discussing in the classes. Ask students to participate in the discussion. 70% retention is there. Doing a dramatic presentation, simulating a real experience, or doing a real thing. How much percentage of retention? 90% retention. Again, the same diagram. Next one also. Back. Yeah, back one more. Yes. Same thing. Reading 10%, 90% of what we do, doing the real thing. This is proposed by another person, Dale. The other one is proposed by another person. Same. Next. So how do you integrate a 60-minute lecture? A 60-minute OBE lecture. This is what I suggested. It is 1 hour, 60 minutes, right? 60 minutes, right? Let's take it approximately 50 to 60. 5 minutes thinking and reflection. Reflecting on yesterday's sessions. 5 minutes. I'll give you 5 minutes time. You introduce the topic, new topic in 10 to 15 minutes. This is called as episode. Not lecturing for 1 full hour. You introduce a topic of 10 to 15 minutes. A group discussion of another 10 to 15 minutes. That is all for that topic. You go to the next topic. Which means you have to carefully balance how you are going to do the instruction delivery. That is why I pointed out something called as knowledge structures. Not explaining everything, but introducing the knowledge structures to the students. And the prime purpose of any teacher is not to give them all of data, but to instill curiosity. You instill curiosity, they will automatically learn by themselves. That is why we use something called as 10 to 15 minutes of time for introducing a new topic. You introduce a new topic on gravity. You introduce a topic on something else. Not more than 15 minutes. Anything more than 15 minutes is a wastage. You understood? That is an absolute essence of OB. You cannot go for more than 15 to 20 minutes. Maybe you can make those 1 hour sessions into 2 topics. Again, repeating on the same topic, minute by minute. The retention capacity of students will lose. They will get distracted. They will go to some other activity. Next. See. The situation is a lecture. What is the teaching activity? Talk, explain, and clarify. What is the learning happening? It is just listening, taking notes, and maybe discuss with peers, etc. A 1 minute paper, etc. If it is a tutorial, the teaching activity is setting answers and questions and providing feedbacks, which is essential for pre-reading. Before the class, you can do that. 1 day advance, prepare certain questions, learn from previous critical analysis and things on. If it is a project, what is the teaching activity? You set a brief detail about the project, provide ongoing feedbacks, and there you have something called as SPOTS: apply, create, self-monitor, communicate, teamwork, etc. If it is a problem-based learning, you set problems and you provide feedback. You set the learning goals, design, apply. Okay, give it. Okay. Right. Next. See, mapping learning outcomes with assessment. You have learning outcomes 1, learning outcomes 2, learning outcomes 3, LO4, LO5, LO6. You have to map learning outcomes with certain outcomes, learning assessments with outcomes. You have 6 learning outcomes, and you have 3 tasks to check whether the learning outcome has been met. 3 to 4 tasks. This is a very ideal situation which we will be explaining during your assessment part. Next. The OBE based assessment methods. Objective test. I'm sure all of you are experimenting the aptitude test. Essay questions, descriptive. End of chapter type problems. To finish a chapter, you ask certain questions. Either it could be descriptive or it could be objective. You do practicals, examinations, the oral examination, the written examination. Do you do the peer and self-assessment? The peer assessment, peer-to-peer assessment, and self-assessments. That is one important aspect. Whereas students will get a feel, an idea about where they stand among the crowd, right? Case studies, projects. What is this? Reflective journals. You ask students to go and read particular journals, scientific journals, and ask them to reflect on what they have learned. Reflective journals, portfolios. Do you know anything about portfolios? Portfolios. You highlight your work in an online platform that is actually called as portfolios. There is software called Mahara, M-A-H-A-R-A. You can just take down. It's again an open source. I speak only about open source applications. It is an open source application. Mahara, M-A-H-A-R-A. It's an e-portfolio application wherein you can ask your students to highlight, upload the projects, upload the programs, upload the software that you have developed into Mahara, and then plug it with Moodle. Because Moodle has a subengine for Mahara called as Moodle. That is the beauty of Moodle. You can have a lot of plugins to Moodle. So Mahara is one very popular e-portfolio. Then I'm sure you all have seminar presentation, right? Right. The point that I want to discuss is about how you evaluate these things. Not implementing a seminar presentation, not doing portfolios, but how do you evaluate this? Do you have any sort of standard framed rubrics? Yes, that is the usual way. Now, once I finish my today's program, I am very sure that you will be given a feedback form where you will be asked whether the resource person was pleasant, whether the resource person is knowledgeable, did he reach on time. These are not the questions to be asked. Whether the outcome was met, whether CO1 has met, whether CO2 has met, whether CO3 has met. Indirect method of assessment. Generally, what we do is whether it was the food was okay, the stay was okay. Those kind of questions we ask, but it is high time that we change those questions into feedbacks. That is why I am telling you about rubrics. You can go to Google and type down rubrics, and you get enormous amount of rubrics applications available. That is rubrics, and the list is endless. Now, again, next one. As mentioned earlier, the steps for assessments define results to be measured. This is not about OB curriculum or OB instruction. This is about OB assessment. Define results to be measured. Identify the data from the examinations. Review existing assessment methods. See whether you have additional methods of assessment. Implement and evaluate. Again, define results. This cycle goes on. This is actually called as continuous quality improvement. Very, very essential component of OB. CQI, continuous quality improvement. Next. See, the closing the loops is very much important. You have program objectives. How do you frame program objectives? Program objectives are framed by taking input from alumni members, from the mission statement, from the vision statement, from the stakeholders, from the advisory committees. You have a set of program objectives that is also assessed. You have program outcomes coming up, that is also assessed on a cyclic basis. You have course outcomes coming up, again getting assessed. You have course outcome assessments, you have program assessments, you have program objective assessment, all part of CQ. This is actually closing the group. And this is what we aim at a successful implementation of OB. CQI, continuous quality improvement. Yes. So back. 3 slides back. So this is the implementation plan. What we are going to discuss or what we are going to do from next day onwards. At 15-stage implementation plan. What is the first stage? Establish the vision and mission. And the program educational objectives. In your case, it is not applicable. In engineering college, it is applicable. You will also have to count the PEOs. Yes. And once these broader statements are finalized, you define the POs. I mentioned as PLO, it is POs. PLO is program learning outcomes, same as POs. You have POs. Once the POs are met, you go for the PSOs. I've skipped it here. Go for PSOs. Then for CO, if you have sub COs, that is actually called as CLOs, course learning outcomes, or anyway you can call it as. And map the courses with POs and PSOs. Map all your courses with appropriate Bloom's taxonomy. Map the assessment patterns with COs for each course. Map the topics with COs. Here I'm using the word topics instead of knowledge structures. Topics with COs. Define appropriate pedagogical tools for the course outcome delivery. It's up to you. I was traveling to Assam a couple of months back for a 2-day session on OBE, and I found a professor teaching chemistry through songs. And the students feel it very useful. I don't know how to explain it, but those tables, what do you call the tables? Periodic tables and all. Those tables are highly important for chemistry classes, right? And all the students in one particular batch where this professor is teaching are fully thorough with the periodic tables because of these songs. I'm not going to force all of you to sing songs, but then you can devise your own instruction strategies. Finally, we have to meet our objective. And once you have the different distinctive pedagogical tools, you have a course lesson planner. Here also you will be having some lesson planners, right? You link all those documents to COs and POs. Now everything we are doing right now, but it's not getting linked to these documents. You link all those teaching diaries, all those lesson planners, all those hourly statements, everything. You link it with what? COs and POs, or the CO and PO metrics. And then everything is fine. And finally, you define rubrics. What are the rubrics? I have mentioned about rubrics. Rubrics with the Bloom's taxonomy and CO. Then track students. Next, madam. Next. Track students. Previous one. Track students' performance by proposing proper remedial measures. I'm sure you will be having the remedial sessions, right? What do you do in remedial classes? Again, for the entire class? No, only for slow learners. In your sense, only for failures. Not for failures. Slow learners, right. And measure the students' performance against the CO threshold. We are going to see what is threshold value. I simply define threshold value as the minimum class average for the last 3 years. Class percentage. Pass percentage, I will make it very clear. Pass percentage. Let's say 60% pass percentage, 50% pass percentage could be a threshold value. Depends on institutions. Some institutions will be having higher pass percentages. But when you put that value on a higher side, your attainment also becomes a big difficult. Yes, and finally you compare the program outcomes for the last 3 academic years and propose remedial actions. You assess the attainment of PUs. Right. This one. Next one. Yeah. Previous. See, the whole crux of what I have explained from yesterday till now has been depicted in one single picture. I'm not going to explain much on this picture. Pictures says 100 times than words. Please have a look on this picture for at least a minute. If you have some concerns, you can raise your hands, I can answer. Start with POs, courses, course units, map the course units. Again, you have this component, question bank, which is another thing we will be discussing a little later. Your question bank is linked to assessments. The entire process is automated, not manual. It is automated. That's why we require something called as LMS. Now we have evaluations linked to assessments. How do you do evaluations? It can be assessments, it can be quizzes, it can be projects, it can be group discussions, everything can be evaluated. Everything can form part of your assessments. The important part is how you do it. You should be very much genuine and unbiased in doing all these activities. All these, we call it as alternative assessment. There are two words. One is a conventional assessment and alternative assessment. What is conventional assessment? Writing examinations and oral examinations are all part of conventional assessment. But in OBE, there is only 10% weightage for conventional assessments and 90% weightage for the alternative assessments. We call it as AA or alternative assessment. And you have to devise your own alternative assessment mechanisms. Think about it. As teachers, you would have much idea about different kinds of assessment method mechanisms. I've been to one college where they use something called as N card. I'll tell you what is N card. On the exit door, they have a pouch where the small white papers are kept. After each hour, when the student leaves the class, he has to write a summary about that class and leave. That is N card. But that is very useful for students because no, the students will listen. One. The other one, when students start writing something, they will understand, they will try to imitate all these writings in the examinations for at least few. That is N card system. Small card, write 2-3 lines about the 1 hour session. There are different mechanisms. You go to internet, you will find n number of mechanisms for alternative assessments. I think you have close to 3,000 or 4,000 mechanisms. Depends on how you use it and what is the time that you get. So to use all these alternative assessments in 1 hour session, you will have to break your 1 hour session into parts. That is actually called as instructional delivery plan. That is very much essential. Conventionally, what we do, we go to class, lecture for 1 hour, we come back, we sit and relax, go to next class. But you have to have a proper planning on instructional delivery in such a way that you find time for all these activities. In between also you can do Zen survey. Don't call it a Zen survey, you call it some other name. After every new topic has been introduced, you can ask to write certain questions on that topics. Whatever questions students feel. And let the variable questions be part of your question bank. And how often do you review the question banks? It is continuous. And on what level do you use the Bloom's taxonomy or simply part A, part B, part C? That has to be changed. Hereafter, when you start writing question banks, please link your questions with Bloom's taxonomy. Which all questions form part of the number category? Which all questions form part of the loads and quotes? And you have to start building all those or converting all those loads slowly to quotes. I was getting a feedback about assignments, and students all copy the assignments. That's true. That's a universal phenomenon of India, it seems. How can you overcome that? Start giving them problems. Different topics is also again they go to internet and use the controversy control view. What else? You can start giving them problems. To do problems, they will have to have an understanding of the content and subject.
Giving problems also, if it is substitutional of the formula.
No issue, no issue. That is up to the teachers. That is why I said alternative assessments, entire part of alternative assessments are given to teachers. And you can plan, experiment, devise on anything. And finally, make sure that what you are teaching in the class has been learned by each and every student. So that is why this entire mapping here is there till you attain the outcome. Otherwise, you again repeat the whole assessments. Fast learners get it very fast. Slow learners go through the iterative process 2-3 times.
So all the modules will link to Bloom structure.
Yes.
Otherwise,
And I'm going to speak something about Bloom's taxonomy also. Because most of you, how many of you are from language departments here? How do you calculate Bloom's taxonomy? How do you do Bloom's taxonomy language? Please.
write the first
Now, how do you convert this content into Bloom's taxonomy level? See, Bloom's taxonomy is successful only in science courses. Only in science courses. I'll show you a picture after break. See, there are different kinds of taxonomies available in the educational context. I do not know how people selected Bloom's taxonomy. In Western countries or European countries, nobody uses Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is successful for scientific courses, science courses. Whereas there are several other kinds of taxonomy like Marzano's taxonomy, Kendall's taxonomy, which are part of some other courses. Again, Benjamin Bloom has also devised 3 models of taxonomy. One for the knowledge structure, which we are taking, and the Bloom's taxonomy. The other one for affective domain, which is part of the Oriental languages. And the third one for the psychomotor domain, which are actually part of the physical education courses. But unfortunately, we have seen only the cognitive part. And everybody throughout India is using the cognitive domain for the language courses and affective domain courses. I do not know whether language courses, language teachers are comfortable with Bloom's taxonomy scientific part. But then, if you can go through the internet, you will find an n number of articles related to how Bloom's taxonomy can be used in courses like English, Hindi, and your language. So Bloom's taxonomy has also different domains, different categories. Not the knowledge domain alone. You also have the affective domain. You also have the psychomotor domain. And depending on each different domains, you also have different verbs. What you have learned is only the knowledge domain verbs. The RBT, revised Bloom's taxonomy verbs. Now, see this. This is OB. This is OB. You understood? This is what we are trying to maintain. Attain. Not the theoretical knowledge. It is only the final knowledge, the final outcome that has to be met, and then only he or she is going to get the job. At what time should I take a break? Can I take a break a little earlier? Just take a copy, some more slides. You have a break of 5 minutes. 10 minutes, okay. Thank you. Oh. I just wanted to copy some slides, that's all.
language class la padte irpa
This is a shorter break for 5 minutes, not 10 minutes. Please come back immediately.
அவங்களுக்கு என்ன நம்ம சொல்லவே இல்லைமா.
Morning, ma'am. The software lab market போறதுக்காக நான் கொஞ்சம் practicals
நான் முடிய ஒவ்வொரு டிபார்ட்மெண்டா சொல்லி ஒவ்வொரு டிபார்ட்மெண்டா சொல்லிட்டு இப்ப ஃப்ரீயா இருந்தாலும் அவர் சிஸ்டம்
லீவ் போடுறீங்களா மேம்?
எதுவும் எடுத்துட்டு வர வேணாமா, கொடுப்போம் மார்க் ஷீட் ஆரம்பிச்சுதான். மேனேஜ்மெண்ட் அவங்க தான் கிடையாது.
யார் மேம் அது? இதுல ஆமா பேசிட்டே தான் இருக்காங்க.
எங்களுக்கு மூச்சு விட கூட முடியல. காலையில ஒரு 1.5 மணி நேரம் பூஜைக்கு தான் நாங்க உட்காந்துருக்கோம், வேற எதுவுமே பண்ணல. அவங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கஞ்சி சஞ்சு டம்ளர் எடுத்துட்டு வா. சஞ்சு டம்ளர் எடுத்துட்டு வா. சஞ்சு சஞ்சு இருந்துச்சா?
டெய்லியுமே அப்பாயின்மெண்ட் அம்மா அப்பாயின்மெண்ட் அம்மா வச்சு இந்த மெயின்
வேணும்னா சஞ்சு
Time that we
செக்ஷன் உண்டா ஓ அஞ்சாம்
learning scenario.
சுத்தி வர்றதுனால ஃபர்ஸ்ட் விஷயம் ஆட்டோ ஒரு நாளைக்கு 350 ரூபாய் ஆகுது. நீங்க ஸ்க்ரூட்டினி கேக்குறீங்களா? செக்ஷன் இருக்கும், நீங்க வர்றதுனா வாங்க. நீங்க வர்றதுனா வரலாமா? அத பத்தி கம்பல்சரியா என்ன 10 மணிக்கு வந்து 2 மணிக்கு காலேஜே அப்படிதான் இருக்கும். மேடம் கிளம்ப சொல்லிடுவாங்க. எதுக்கு வைக்கணுங்க? அழகா லீவ் விட்டாங்க, பிள்ளைங்க நிம்மதியாவது வீட்டுல ரெண்டு ஸ்பூன் அவளுக்கு கவுனி அரிசி மட்டும் தான் பிடிக்குது.
Small change in the program. All of you please go and have tea and we won't have same menu 1167. We have tea and along with something to buy. In 10 to 15 minutes
morning மக்கு கஞ்சி தான்.
An announcement here. For all the participants of this workshop, other than St.Ann and Little Flat Degree College, kindly meet Dr. Srikala, Department of Statistics. Those participants other than Little Flat Degree College and St.Ann, please meet Madam.
பயங்கர டேஸ்ட் மாஸ்டர். என்னமா ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேரிங் ஆகுது? நாளைக்கு சுதாவத்துல நீங்க எப்படி உங்க வீட்டுக்கு சொல்லிருக்கீங்களா? வேற உங்களுக்கு தெரியாதா? ஜிஜோ நல்ல கதையா இருக்கே. போறோம், ஒன்னும் ப்ராப்ளம் இல்லைங்களா? 10% சுதா பீரியட்ஸ் வந்துருமோ என்னமோன்னு வரலாங்கிறாங்க. டேப்லெட் நிறுத்திட்டாங்கம்மா. நேத்துல ஒரு கன்ஃபியூஷன் ஓடிக்கிட்டே இருந்துச்சு. நைட்டு தான் ஃபைனலைஸ் பண்ணது. ஃபீவர் வேற பார்த்து சொல்லணும். ஃபீவர் இருந்ததுன்னா அதை பத்தி எங்களுக்கு ப்ராப்ளம் இல்ல. உங்களுக்கு உடம்பு முடிஞ்சா வாங்க, மேனேஜ் பண்ணிடலாம். ஒரு செகண்ட் நம்ம அப்ப எனக்கு சொன்னேன் பிரேமிக் தாங்க எக்ஸிக்யூட்டிவ் சொல்லிடலாம். முன்னாடியே சொன்னாதானே மாவு அரைப்பாங்கலாம் சொன்னேன். அப்புறம் சரி பன்மிளாக்காவை எக்ஸிக்யூட்டிவ் சொல்லலாம், அதனால நான் உங்க கூப்பிடல, எல்லாம் சொல்லி இருந்திருப்பேன்.
மெயில் பண்ணி விட்டுங்க. அதை ரீஅரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி
டவுட் தான் சொல்லிட்டா கரெக்டா.
அந்த ஹெட்டிங் மட்டும் போட்டுருங்க.
முந்தா நாளே டேப்லெட் ஸ்டாப் பண்ணிருச்சான். உங்களை மட்டும் மிஸ் பண்ணிருப்பா. எல்லாருக்கும் போன் பண்ணிட்டான். அதுதான் நீங்க வருவீங்க, உங்களுக்கு தெரியுங்கிற இன்டென்ஷன்லயே இருந்திருப்பா. சுதாவும் மிஸ்ஸும் கரெக்டாவும் இல்லைன்னா ஹாஸ்டல் கரெக்டாவா மேடம் வர சொல்லிட்டேங்கிறாங்க. பீரியட்ஸ் 3ஆம் நாள் தலை குளிச்சுட்டு வான்னு சொல்லிட்டேமா, அது வந்துரும் அப்படிங்கிறாங்க. எனக்கு தெரியல கரெக்டா வருவாங்களாங்கிறது தெரியல. இருக்காங்க சஞ்சு சஞ்சனா ஹலோ ஹலோ அவளை வேணா காலேஜ் போச்சு. உங்களை மிஸ் பண்ணிருப்பா ஏதோ ஞாபகம். இல்ல நீங்க வர்றீங்கன்னு அவ சொன்னா. ஆமா வரீங்கன்னு சொன்னா. அப்படியே 5ஆம் தேதி யோசிச்சோம். அப்புறம் அது சரியா வரல. திரும்பி எல்லாம் ஷெட்யூல மாத்துவாங்க. அக்டோபர் 29 நீங்களும் இல்ல. அதெல்லாம் சொன்னா கவிதா அவங்க கல்யாணம் மேடம் கேட்டாங்க. அது என்ன நம்ம டிசம்பர்ல ஒன்று போட்டு வருமா ஹாலிடேஸ் என்ன எல்லாருமே
அடுத்த வாரம் பேர வேண்டியதான்ப்பா.
29 விட்டோம்னா நமக்கு எக்ஸாம் ஆரம்பிச்சிருமா?
ஓகே உங்களுக்கு இல்ல
அக்டோபர் 29 போகலைன்னா 7ஆம் தேதி பரீட்சை வச்சுட்டு நம்ம எப்படிமா போறது? நம்ம எல்லாம் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கேட்டு கொடுக்க மாட்டேங்கிறோம். பெருமாள் அந்த 1ஆம் தேதி நவம்பர் 1 அதை பாரு. நம்ம क्वेश्चन பேப்பர் எல்லாம் எடுத்து அவங்கள்ட்ட ஹேண்ட் ஓவர் பண்ணிடலாம்.
நான் டவுட் ஃபீவர் போயிட்டு வந்துட்டு அப்புறம் மண்டே இல்ல நான் சுதா கேட்டு சொல்றேன். அவங்க வருவாங்க, அவங்களுக்கு நேற்று வரைக்கும் பீரியட்ஸ் இல்லை, அவங்க கோயில் போயிட்டு வந்துருவாங்க.
அப்ப கண்டிப்பா வரலாம்.
நீங்க பாருங்க, நான் இட்லி வேற சொல்றதுக்கு கணக்கே
டவுட் கணக்குல உங்களை சேர்க்கலாவ. ஆகல, இனிமேல் தான் பிக்ஸ் பண்ண போறாங்க. மோதிரத மோதுவோம். நீங்களும் ஊர்மிளாவும் போய் இன்னைக்கு சொல்லிருங்க. நான் சொல்றது நல்லா புரிஞ்சுக்கங்க. அவன் வந்து 6 சீட்டு தான் கவர்மெண்ட், மிச்சம் காலேஜ் சீட்டு காசு வாங்க மாட்டாங்க. நம்ம ஜாயின் பண்ண அப்புறம் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் 3 months salary அவங்க ஏதோ ஒரு அக்கௌண்ட் கொடுப்பாங்க, அதுக்கு போடுவாங்க. வினோத் சொன்னது அக்கௌண்ட்டுக்கு போடுறது நான் சொன்னது. வினோத் சொன்னது கவர்மெண்ட் சீட்டுக்கு மட்டும்தான் காசா, மிச்ச சீட்டுக்கு காசு இல்லை. இதுல எது கவர்மெண்ட் சீட்டுன்னு இன்னும் அவங்க பிக்ஸ் பண்ணி சொல்லுவாங்க. அதுவும் இன்னும் 1 வாரம் ஆக மாட்டேன் அப்படிங்கிறது. அமௌண்ட் என்னன்னு தெரியறதுக்கு 1 வாரம் ஆக மாட்டேன். அதனால நான் என்ன சொல்றேன், நம்ம போடுறத போட்டுறோம். கிடைச்சா சந்தோஷம், கிடைக்காட்டி அதை விட சந்தோஷம், நம்ம டிஆர்பில போயிடுவோம். அதுதான் நான் சொல்லி ஜாயின் பண்ண அந்த புள்ள அடிச்சு பேசுறது.
பதிலா நம்ம வேலை செய்யறது ஈஸி, அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி கொடுக்கறத விட. சொல்றேன்,
போடுறத போடுங்க. இப்போ ஒருத்திதான் அதுல மாட்டிட்டா. ஆல்ஃபரே இல்லாம போயிடுச்சு கம்ப்யூட்டர் சயின்ஸ். கவிதா காமர்ஸ் கவிதாட்ட கூட போடுன்னு சொல்லணும்னு நினைச்சேன். வருது வரல. ஏன்னா காமர்ஸ்லயும் இந்த ஒர்க் என்விரான்மெண்ட்லாம் தலைகிலன்னா கூட நமக்கு எங்கேயும் கிடைக்காது. யாரையும் 10 நாளையில தெரிஞ்சிருங்கிறாங்க. அதாவது எக்ஸாமா இல்ல பழச கன்சிடர் பண்றாங்க. பேசுவா 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 பார்த்தீங்களா கடைசி நேஹா யாழினி ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ் எல்லாமே அவங்க வீட்லயும் இதே கம்ப்ளைண்ட் தான். போன பேசினாலுங்கன்னா 1 மணி நேரம் பேசுறாங்க. காலேஜ் போன் எனக்கு தேவைப்படும். வீட்டு போன்னா எனக்கு காலேஜ்ல போன் வந்துட்டே இருக்கும். அதுக்கே அந்த போன்ல தான் கால் வரும். கஷ்டமா அப்படியே நெஞ்சுவலி வந்துருது. அது இப்ப கவிதா ரொம்ப டென்ஷன் ஆகுறா. இவளை பார்த்து அவதான் ரொம்ப டென்ஷன் ஆகுறா. நான் கூட ஒரு வழிக்கு வாங்கடா மார்க் என்ட்ரிக்கா சத்யா சத்யா வாசல் நான் மேக்ஸ் மார்க் என்ட்ரிக்கு வந்திருக்காங்க. இது ஏமாத்தி வருது. இல்ல ஸ்கிரீனே ஷேர் ஆகல பாரு. அது வந்தப்பறம் சவுண்ட் வச்சுக்கலாம் தான் வைக்கல.
Yes, just another couple of minutes on the presentation and then we'll go start writing. You all will become a true students. Please settle down fast. So these are the common words we use in classes, right? Got it. As far as I am concerned, you are my students. That's it. For all the audience participants who are not aware of the revised Bloom's taxonomy, these are the words. Just showing a glimpse of all those verbs. Do you remember? Come down so that we can see the heading.
Zoom out.
See, the revised Bloom's taxonomy starting with remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and create a hell lot of verbs. And all these verbs are essential for writing outcome statements. I went through some of the outcome statements. Now, before I landed up at your college, I was just checking your POs and PSOs on the website. And I got an understanding that the revised Bloom's taxonomy verbs are not properly used. So what you have to do is immediately after, in another 10 minutes, we are going to write outcome statements, all the three, the POs, PSOs, and COs. And for that, I would request all of you to sit together as a department wise. All the computer science can sit together, all the languages can sit together, all the other mathematics can sit together. We start writing something, and then let me see whether you have learned after my 2 to 3 hour sessions. Right. Okay. Okay, so this is, I'm not going to spend much time here. Everything is available in the internet, the public domain. So just Google it, you'll find RBT, Revised Bloom's Taxonomy. And these are the verbs that are used in the Revised Bloom's Taxonomy. Select whichever verbs are appropriate for your course outcomes or program outcomes. If it is on the level 1, you go for remember verbs. If it is not for the level 2, you go for the next verb, set of verbs. If it is for the last category, the last level, level 6, you go for appropriate verbs. That is what is highly required. Madam, there is a slide called outcomes. Please. Outcomes. Yeah. So this is available in the internet. Just showing a glimpse of what is RBT. Outcomes. So straight away move to the important part of writing outcomes. Before that, I'll give you a small idea about how to write outcomes. And then I'll ask you to write outcomes. I should have gone the other way. Start with the problem and then come to the basics. Right. So outcomes are of 3 types as far as we are concerned. The program outcomes, the program specific outcomes, and course outcomes. Next. Next. Right. Back. Yeah. The NAC has already given you a suggestive list of 12 outcomes. And my suggestion is to pick out at least 5 to 6 POs from that list rather than creating your own list. Because you are starting for the first time for a transformational OB. So the NAC suggested outcomes are listed in the NAC manual. These are some of the suggestions, some of the samples given to us by UGC and NAC. One is called critical thinking. What do you mean by critical thinking? Take informed actions after identifying the assumptions that frame our thinking and actions. That is something intellectual. something related to your cognitive skills. You know what is cognitive science, right? Anything that deals with intellectual capabilities are dealt in cognitive science. And critical thinking is actually a part of intellectual ability, which I am sure all the domains, all the people sitting here on your domains would be doing it. So critical thinking is going to be one of the most important POs of every organization. Because that is what we teach, why we teach, to instill the critical thinking ability in the students. I've just taken a couple of POs from the UGC and NAC website. The second one that I've taken is effective communication. Very much essential. That means we are trying to say that when the students successfully complete a particular program at an institution, these students are going to get these kind of abilities. In some institutions, they have created their own POs. Well and fine. But I would suggest to start with, you can select the POs that are suggested by UGC and NAC, 12 numbers, and select at least 4 or 5. An ideal representation of PO, PSO, and CO would be like a 4 to 5 POs, 2 to 3 PSOs, and 5 COs per course. Understood? And that too on a uniform level throughout the entire courses. You might have 36 courses for a 3-year program, 6 courses per semester. On an assumption of that, you can have 5 POs, 2 to 3 PSOs, and 5 COs. Any courses which doesn't have 5 modules? You have 4 only. So make it at least 4 COs, or in some cases you have 5 COs. Now why I want to restrict the COs is that when the number of POs and COs increase, PSOs and COs increase, the mapping becomes a very big process. And another important part is that the tabulation and preparation of question paper also becomes a Herculean task. Till now we were preparing question papers as such. We have part A questions, part B questions, and part C questions, maybe part D also. But hereafter, our question paper will be in such a way that we have questions related to CO1, questions related to CO2, questions related to CO3, CO4, CO5. If you have 10 COs, your question paper size is going to increase. And the tabulation sheet also will be very complex. Why? Because every CO has to be met by student. It's not like a student gets 50% marks and he gets passed. We are trying to see whether how many COs are met. How many COs are successfully met. That means if a student fails or if a student doesn't get an average or a threshold mark for a particular CO, he has to repeat the program. Not a program, that course, particular course. Not in a formal mechanism, but he or she have to get the appropriate required threshold marks. Yes. Yes. I was expecting this question. I know what you're going to ask. Yes, yes. What about internals? In whatever way you can start doing it, because we are working on a rigid framework of university, and I know that a university doesn't allow us to do experimentations on university question papers. They have their own patterns because they are not bothered about outcomes. Only NAC is bothered, only we are bothered. The university people are not bothered about outcomes. Whatever outcome you get, we have to complete the examination. It's just number of days and number of examinations, that's all. So what I am trying to say is that I am not going to distinguish between what is university exam, end semester examination, internal examinations. I am speaking about common assessments. And it is for our interest that we can experiment in whatever ways we can. You can do in internal examinations, you can do in projects, Because what university asks is marks, projects you can do, assignments you can do, quizzes you can do, MCQs you can do, whatever else you can do, try to use it. Try to do it. So critical thinking is one important aspect of one sample. Another one is effective communication. You have professional ethics, you have lifelong learning, self-directed learning. If you go to the NAC website, you will get 12 number of graduate attributes. And out of the 12 graduate attributes, you can select for maybe 5. That is the first part. I do not know whether this first part has to be framed by the administrators or by the teachers. But one thing is very sure. Only by framing the first part, you can go to the next part. We call this institutional profiling. What is institutional profiling? In IIT, we have 8 POs. 8 POs. That means whoever completes a program at IIT is marked with his 8 POs. He has professional communication, he has ethical skills, he has critical knowledge, he has an ability of effective communication. So that has already been set by the IITs. And in some institutions, they set their own POs. But when setting our own POs, it is difficult for us to maintain a clarity in such a way that all the POs are getting aligned with the PSOs and COs. So my suggestion for institutions like yours is always to go for a pick of the 12 graduate attributes framed by the NBA or adopted by the NAC. So that is the first part. So I'm not going to discuss much about POs because POs have to be framed by the senior teachers or administrators. Now regarding PSOs, again department specific. This is where you can work on. This is department specific, program specific. And when you have diversity in programs, you will also be having diversity in PSOs. That means the PSO of BSc chemistry would be different from PSO of industrial chemistry. You understand? But the POs would be same. You are getting? The POs are same. Any graduate passing a particular program from one particular college gets a same PO. That is, BA would be one PO, set of POs. BSc would be one set of POs. BCom would be one set of POs. This is the ideal condition that I am saying. There are variants also. But when you try for variants for the first time itself, it will be difficult. So all BScs can have one set of POs. All BComs can have one set of POs. All arts, BA programs can have another set of POs. And there can have variation on the PSOs. Are you getting my point? This is the first part. Leave the PSOs. PSOs will be taken care by the administrative people and they will give you the PSOs. They call it institutional profiling. The other one is department profiling. And we have course profiling. So once the PSOs are set, let's say 3 or 4, let's say 2 to 3, that's enough for the time being. You go for COs. See, look for a sample. Next slide. Next slide. Look for a sample PS of BSc Zoology. This was for Assam Don Bosco University. Understand the nature and basic concepts of cell biology, biochemistry, taxonomy and ecology. What sounds Greek and Latin for me? Analyze the relationship among animals, plants and microbes. Perform procedures as per laboratory standards in the areas of biochemistry, bioinformatics, taxonomy, economics, zoology, ecology. And sample set of PSOs for the Department of Zoology. Likewise, you can frame your own PSOs, but make sure that when you frame the PSOs, the entire faculty members of the department should have a thought process. It's not the responsibility of a program coordinator or a department head of the department. It is the collaborative thought process that should finally tune up to set a particular PSO. And therefore, departmental meetings, continuous departmental meetings are a must. I'm sure it is there. Now we go to the course outcomes are nothing but what students will be able to do after a particular course. A course on computer, a course on C programming, a course on cell ecology. I do not know whether it's a course. Yes. Okay. I'm coming to that point. Yes.
As was also talking about how we have incorporated unique factors. Education policy is also visualizing various combinations of subjects. Suppose I have history with chemistry.
Do not know.
How do we frame a program?
As of now, what is the first question?
My question is that NEP is also visualizing various combinations of subjects. Suppose I have history with chemistry in a program. So how do I talk about the program outcome in that case?
That is why the program outcomes are more generic. You know, even if it is history, even if it is chemistry, even if it is sports, the POs are going to be much generic. Whereas the PSs are going to be very much specific. If you have a combination of history and chemistry, you will have a couple of PSOs from history. Depends on what provenance you give on the subjects. If it is chemistry, little bit, 20% chemistry and 80% history, you will have 2 to 3 PSOs on history and one PSO on the other part. Right.
As of now in our system, we have 3 papers.
Right.
So it's not a honors degree.
Right.
We should have what is volunteer chemistry.
You have to incorporate all those 3 PSOs. But how do you come to a final PSO? You have to have a first set of 20 to 15 to 20 PSOs and then shortlist come down to a very narrow list, incorporating all those basic components that you require. It is again an iterative process. Now coming back to COs, I said that the ideal condition is 5 COs. So please stick on the 5 COs. Or you fix it as a 4 COs. Depends on the policy taken care by the department HODs and the administrators. I yesterday clearly mentioned that there is nothing called module in OB. It is only knowledge structures. It is only knowledge structures. And let's say if you have a physics curriculum, every undergraduate curriculum, even if it is physics or mathematics, might be touching upon only 6 to 8 knowledge structures. That too contained in maybe 4 to 5 units or modules. So before you start writing COs, I would always advise all of you to find out the number of knowledge structures available. How do you immediately find the knowledge structure just by looking at a course? It's not possible. So the ideal person to write this CO is a person who has taught a particular course for at least 3 years. At least 3 years. At least 3 times. And he or she will be having an idea about what are the knowledge structures to be dealt with. What are the basic knowledge structures, important knowledge structures. And for that, again, the entire department has to sit too. That's why I've asked all the entire departments to sit in department wise. Because we are going to write this right now. Now, some of the sample COs are, I have taken one from computer science, write programs for 1-dimensional and 2-dimensional array manipulation and string handling. That is one particular CO. Students will be able to do such and such things. Again, we have COs related to human development. I do not know whether these are all right at all. Synthesize specified chemicals, understand aspects of human development, including pregnancy, malnutrition, birth control, infertility, development, certificates, and miscarriage. Synthesize specified chemicals and characterize them and interpret spectral data to elucidate the structure of a synthesized chemical component. Right. Now, this is important. Yes. Yes. Can you make it little? Now we have to make it very much clear, very much specific and measurable. That is what I am going to tell next slides. Please. Now, regarding the taxonomy of learning, we all are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. But Bloom's taxonomy also has 3 different categories. I was mentioning before the debrief. We had the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. I think I have spent some time on that. Next one. Now, the affective learning, because we are familiar with the cognitive domain, let me introduce you with the affective domain. It's actually a demonstration of behaviors. Behaviors after reading a poem, after understanding certain articles, and we have, as in the Bloom's taxonomy cognitive level, we also have 6 different levels in affective domain also. The affective domain, affective perceiving domain, the reacting domain, the conforming domain, validating domain, effective judging domain, and effective creating domain. I'm not going to spend much time here, but we have certain verbs, as do in the case of Bloom's taxonomy cognitive level. We have the include, the accept, the attempt, defect, dispute, join, judge, praise, question, etc., etc. Just go to internet and find out much details. The third domain is a psychomotor domain, again applicable to psychomotor courses. The verbs include verbs include bend, grasp, handle, operate, relax, shorten, stretch, write, differentiate, express, perform, etc. Now, the building blocks for all learning objectives, LOs, are going to be these 3 factors, whether it is a cognitive part of a domain, whether it is a social interaction, or whether it is a physical level. Now, this is how you write a structure of SEO. This is what you need to concentrate more on, because we have a structure. Next, structure of SEO. Right. We have a structure of writing SEO, which is a very popular standardized approach approved by NAC. And there is only one structure available to write a SEO. This is the structure. Every SEO should contain an action verb. An action verb. Sometimes showing single intention, or sometimes showing multiple intentions. It should represent the knowledge. The knowledge domain consists of 4 different categories. I'm not going to spend much time. We also have conditions. And finally, we have criteria. So 4 basic components of any structured SEO. What are the 4 components? Action verb, knowledge, which part of knowledge, then condition, which is optional. I mentioned it is optional. And what the last one is also optional. What is that? Oh, see. Next one, madam, next. See. Sample. Determine the slope from the given topographical map using the Wentworth method. Which subject is, which course it is? Mathematics? Physics? I don't know. But it's taken from some articles. Which course does this belong? Dear teachers? Geography. I don't know. I've seen map and all, that's why. Yes. Determine the slope. I think this is mathematics. Where is mathematics teachers? Determine the slope. Slope is M, represented by M, right? Determine the slope from the given topographical map using the Wentworth method. What is the action? The action is determine. Where does determine stands? You go to the RBT, revised Bloom's taxonomy. The determine stands in the apply verb, apply category. Now, what is the knowledge? The knowledge is slope. What is the condition? The condition is you are already given a topographical map. And another condition is that when you find the slope, you have to find the slope using what method? The Wentworth method alone. So that is the condition. And there is no criteria as such for this. But please have a look at the second one also. I think it would be physics, right? Yes, yes. Model a spring mass system as a differential equation. As a differential equation. Now see, the COs are not on the lower orders. The COs are generally on the higher orders. In this case, it's not applicable for all institutions. But I would suggest after 5-6 years, your COs also come to this higher order. The apply level, analyze level, evaluate level, and create level. Otherwise, in the market, your institution will have a lower value because you are teaching only lower order. The other institutions teaching the higher order. The premier institutions like IITs and IIMs always focus on the higher orders. That is the only difference between St.Ann College, LFDC, and IITs. So I've gone to the second one, right? Have you taken time and gone to the second one? Yes. Find the third one. This is from history, it seems. Understand the paradigm shifts in historical research. I would ask all those people to come in front stage. Zooming is possible. Okay, I am sharing this PPTs here, so you can collect it a little later. Now, sample 3, you go back to sample 3. Sample 3, understand the paradigm shifts in historical research. What is the action? The action is understand. Which level? I am told that you are very much thorough with the Bloom's taxonomy. So, which level? It's L2. It's level 2. What is the knowledge? Paradigm shifts in historical research. And this is a conceptual knowledge. What is the condition? There is no condition. There is no criteria. Go to the last one. I think 4.1 is something related to Sanskrit. Let us skip it. Any language. Last one. Estimate the test reliability using Cronbach's alpha method. Take a statistics. Accurate up to 2 decimal places is going to be the criteria. From the given results. So what are the conditions? One condition is you are given the results. What is the second condition? The method. Cronbach's alpha. It has been clearly mentioned. You understood how to write the COs? Yes or no? Yes. I'm going to check whether learning has happened. Please take papers. Take your courses. Yes, yes. N number of questions are solicited. Who told?
So how do we do that? Or if we do it and give some evidence that we are doing?
See, there are 2 parts on your question. One is about evidence. That is possible because you are going to teach, you have instructional delivery, you have teaching plan, you have so many kinds of documents available in the college. The other one is that whether it is attained or not. Does university say that if, since the students attain on a higher level, you will not be given marks? That won't be told by universities. So even if the curriculum that is set by the university stands in level 1 or 2, it is up to the teachers to decide whether you can instill higher orders in your students.
Based on the program, I mean, the project we can base.
You can. That is how we have projects. That is where we have mini projects, where we have assignments, where we have n number of things. And particularly in assignments, I've seen many assignments. Write 4 pages on encapsulation, for example. Write 2 pages on something else. Write a detailed paragraph on Cronbach alpha. Could be. How do you evaluate it? And is that the assignment that specifies as higher order thinking? No. That means the kind of assignments that you give for your students has to be changed immediately. And the question is whether students will do or not. But you have to bring your students to that level. Slowly, not on one fine day. Slowly, so that at least in semesters 4, 5, and 6, these students will be able to go for higher order thinking skills. Understood? There can be differences according to institutions. We have good students coming up with high marks and I'm not speaking about marks directly, with high IQ and high competency level, you can start the entire process from semester 2 onwards. Depends on what kind of students you get. That is why in my first slide started with the input of the system, then the process, and then the output. And this input, as you said, would be little less right now. But what you have to do is to increase this input, increase the demand level of the students, increase the marks of the students, increase the competency level of the students through some add-on programs, through some auxiliary activities, so that at least by semester 4, 5, all these students start thinking about higher order skills. And later on, during the final year major project, they go for a very high competency projects. Understood? So projects are one area where you can experiment, where you can instill higher order thinking, where you can ask the students to do only projects of higher orders. That is create level, apply level, create, analyze, and evaluate. Yes. Your language, right? Yes.
The project should be the curriculum based, or can we give our own projects where we can
Are there any restrictions on the projects guidelines given by university? Then why not?
how do we evaluate and how do we document it?
See, for NAC, that's what I'm telling you. If university has not restricted you to do a project on this particular area, you can do experimentations. NAC is not the agency awarding the degree. NAC is just a accreditation agency, right? That's all. What they're checking is quality. They do not want the rigid frameworks of university to be applied to the NAC benchmarking system. So these areas are areas where teachers can experiment. Understood? So I would request all of you to, you have your COs and POs with you right now? Yes. Can I have one set of POs and COs so that we can discuss on it and then ask everybody to write? If possible from computer science, because I can help you directly. Yeah, madam, please. Can I have another mic, madam? Right. We are doing experimentations, so don't worry if you get failed in the process, right? Your POs. Yeah, no issue. I cannot hear you properly, madam.
A student of mathematics is also a student of computer science. A student of mathematics is also happens to be a student of computer science.
Right.
Can a mathematics teacher ask a question, asking him or her to simulate a differential equation in computer science?
Two different perspectives. No. If it is part of your program, it has to be part of your PSOs.
Can it be a mix of both?
That is what I am telling. The perspective that you expect as a physics teacher and the perspective that a mathematics teacher expects is something different. Am I right? That's why you will have two different perspectives on the problem, on the outcome statement.
It should be reflected in problem specific.
It should. Yes. Just read the POs and at least one COs, one set of COs. Please say some. They are all on the learning process. So don't bother whether we went wrong or.
The program objectives of MBA program at St.Anne's College for Women at post-graduation level. The MBA seeks to develop students into leaders ready to tackle, to analyze the impact of decisions and actions on stakeholders, including interpersonal, societal, environmental, and organizational considerations.
That is PO, right? Our first PO is to analyze this.
Analyze the impact of decisions and actions on stakeholders, including interpersonal, societal, environmental, and organizational considerations.
One, I have already mentioned that all the POs, PSOs, and COs have to be understood by the students. And that criteria is failing here. You are giving a whole lot of documents to students, and then students will go and read. Will he or she understand anything? So we have to be very simple and precise. And that is one argument, one statement I have to make. The second one is about vague factors. So, you have a question, madam? I cannot hear you, madam.
Department of English has the PSOs ready.
No, just finish. It's one of the PSOs. And now, some factors like decision making. How do you evaluate? Management people, please help me. How do you evaluate? How do you measure a decision making process?
It is developed first, finding out alternatives.
Pardon?
Finding out alternatives first.
Yes, I want to convert all these POs and PSOs to mathematics. That is the next stage what we are going to do. Is this statement easily getting converted to mathematics allowed? Because it is talking about certain vague factors. One, the decision making factors. What is the next one? Business actions. What actions? Unclear. What actions? Is it entrepreneurship? Is it related with something else? I don't know. So we have to be very much precise on when we write the POs. You go back to my POs. See, analyze the relationship. This is POs, right? Yeah, this is this means that you have taken your own set of POs. I suggest all of you, the institutional part, let them take the subset of an ACT or GS, which means a more generic one rather than a more specific one. Go to PSO. PSO, management PSO. You don't have PSOs. We should have. We should have PSOs. See, that's what program objective is much more generic as per the revised NAC guidelines. No. MBA program PSO can be very much specific, related to entrepreneurship, related to role plays, related to case studies. Now, what I'm trying to say is that I don't have a clear-cut answer on how you write management, how you write physics, how you write chemistry, and all. It has to be finalized by the department teachers sitting together and then thinking about what all things can happen in this PSOs and PSOs.
PSOs can be on the basis of this specialized.
I'll show you one sample management PO. It's not there.
We are speaking about management, right? I don't have any specific POs related to POs and PSOs related to management. But what I suggest is you have your own PO, PSOs and COs right now. Don't touch upon POs. You leave it for the time being. You take the PSOs, make it simple and crisp so that it is understood by the students. Make it measurable. Make it attainable also. That is also one of the important part. You need to attain it. No, the students need to attain it. So make it attainable, and then modify your POs. Sorry, not POs, PSOs, and then start writing COs. That's how we can. It's again a trial and error method. I don't have a clear-cut answer on this is the answer, this is the method. That we cannot think about it because it is up to the teachers to decide what could be the PSOs offered by your department. It is something different from my department or my college department. So that is what I suggest. You have to sit together, think about all those possible PSOs, come down to a couple of PSOs, 2 or 3, and then finalize those PSOs after a serious discussion in the departments. I would suggest all of you, all people sitting here, please take your PSOs and COs. First, start thinking about PSOs. If you can refine as per the structure, refine it. If you can modify it, modify it. You might have a couple of PSOs, 5-6 PSOs coming up immediately. Cut down those PSOs into through the most 3 prominent PSOs, and then start writing COs. So can you just try for yourself? Yes. That has to come. That is the kind of rooms, that is the kind of level that you are expecting from that particular CO. Now, I tell you, when you start preparing question papers for assessment, that assessment question word should meet this Bloom's taxonomy. Understood? Yeah, if it is level 1, the question verb should start with level 1. If it is level 5, the question verb should start with level 5. You have to map it. Right. Action word has to come first from this RBD, depending on the L1 to L6. Right. Yes. Can you just try for yourself remodifying or recorrecting your existing POs and POs? Don't make it finalized download. That is learning process. I hope all of you have your COs and POs. Don't touch POs right now. The PSOs and COs with you. Please try for correcting it and making it a little bit refined. It doesn't happen one fine day. That's for sure. You have to keep on refining, and then get a PSO has to be approved by the department. Now have to be informed to the students also, so that you start writing your COs on the basis of aligning with PSOs.
For COs, you gave like a structure, right? Like what is expected, the verb and all. Now, when we are going through all the COs and making it the PSOs, will they also have a similar format?
Yes. Though I have kept a title as course outcomes, it is applicable for all outcome statements.
Okay.
But PSOs would be much more generic, much more, not like COs. Might not be there in PSOs and POs also. Try to be on a single invention right now, but if not possible, at a later point of time, you can go for multiple inventions. That is how you make it simple. Now you go for multiple invention means it is becoming more complex, and more complex COs will not be attainable. That you can. PSOs you can.
Yes. But that in the higher COs, not in CO1, CO2 and all. You go for the final module, CO4, CO5, CO6, that you can do multiple PSOs you can. PSO. Not PEO, PSO. Yes, so, but I am not from nutrition subject, so it would be difficult to. Yes, here we have a PG diploma program in nutrition and dietetics, right? The PSO says that the students will be able to, or the department students will be able to design and implement. What level? Last level. No, I think it's 6. No, are you creating something? But levels doesn't have any relationship with UG or PG. Previous knowledge is there, but that is prerequisite for the masters. Understood. But you cannot attain a master's level, the final level, in a theoretical paper. It is applicable only for practicals, projects, and many projects. If it is project is there, it is there. Then you can go for the final. Right. So listen, please. Just listen, please. I think while you are busy with correcting your one clarification, if a particular subject is offered in different combinations, yes, as we have in final. That's the same question asked by the madam, no? And can we have common specific topics? You can have, but the perspective is different. That's all. Here we have a PSO, design and implement nutrition education interventions that promote helpful behaviors and sound nutrition practices. What are you expecting?
They do conduct awareness programs, girls in a group problem. During the awareness program, they do create some of the posters or charts which can imparting nutrition education.
Not like creating posters and all. It's like creating a new product. Yes. They do that. Okay. Right. See. Please listen. I cannot have a complete concrete answer to what she's asking because it is her department and it is her intention that is expressed in this document, or the department's intention that is expressed in this document. So that is why yesterday I mentioned we need to have continuous departmental meetings for finalizing this. If all the department agree that this is correct and you are expecting the students to do this, how I can answer? That's why I told you the department members have to finally sit together and accept on this PSOs and say that yes, we are going to expect this from our students. In turn, our focus on teaching or instruction delivery will be aligned with this outcome. Right. Yes. There's no point of writing no. And all the 6 programs of St. Ann. Highly optimistic. Okay. Right. Wait. I understood. Your question also I understood. I'll show you a mapping process right now. And then you will understand why, if you increase number of POs, PSS, and COs, that will create a problem, right? Okay. This is one college in Kerala which has almost completed the outcome-based education process. And we have a full document of the PSOs, POs, and COs of all those courses. And we also have the course attainment calculations, PO attainment calculations. It is actually documented with separately in ACT. Please go. Yeah, this is program outcomes. See, they have customized the graduate attributes into their own statements. That's a repose. A person obtaining a bachelor's and master's degree, they have their own POs, equipped with in-depth and extensive theoretical and practical knowledge, nothing but critical thinking. That mentioned as critical thinking, they have used some other words. Now, second one, equipped with interdisciplinary perspective. Interdisciplinary perspective. It is actually part of lifelong learning. And similarly, they have coined 10 POs. But if you shortlist all those 10 POs, you will have a crux of 5 to 6 POs. Understood? Just go through it. And can you zoom it out? Able to communicate. It is communication. Be able. Able to identify their own learning needs. Lifelong learning again. Be confident and skillful to take responsibilities and challenges and able to meet targets and deadlines. Likewise, the standard graduate attributes that are given by NAC and UGC can be either customized or can be used as the same words. In some other colleges, we have same words. Lifelong learning, effective communication, global citizenship. Like that. You close that. We are going to quantify right now. We are going to quantify. All these statements are going to be quantified using the COPO map. Little more. Yeah, we make it 150. Size percentage 150. Yeah. See, able to use, able to communicate, students will be able to identify their own learning needs and certain. These are all POs. These are all POs. Where the actual graduate attributes 12 POs, out of the 12 POs, they have taken 6 POs and expanded. Shall I move to the next one? Please. Now, PSO of chemistry. PS of chemistry, a student will be able to, the structure is little misconfusing, able to acquire the basic knowledge of discipline of chemistry, including theories, techniques, concepts, and general principles. Have acquired sufficient skills required or able to acquire sufficient skills required to conduct of documented laboratory procedures involved in synthetic and analytical work. Again, coming a little more precise. Analytical work in relation to what conditions mentioned, in relation to inorganic, physical, and organic systems, and be able to develop. And it is a multiple intention. There are two intentions. One, they are going to develop something. The second one, they are going to do a documentation, right? It's two intention. Likewise, you can have single intention or multiple intention. Come down, madam. You go to some other subjects. Oh, acquired skills or ability to, the first part is wrong. You should start with able to, right? Able to do something, able to develop something, able to create something. Now, able to acquire numerical and mathematical skills, including aspects of error analysis, estimation, correct use of units and modes of data presentation. Is it statistics? Chemistry, again chemistry. Okay, fine. Again, fifth one, will be able to read and understand and interpret physical information. Now, why do you require understand and read? This is the most appropriate word. That is how you make it very simple. Again, reading, understanding, and analyzing is not required. You can straight away write for analyzing, right? So, interpreting, not analyzing, interpreting. So, interpreting physical information, what is it? I don't know. Is it a typing mistake? I don't know. I thought it is chemistry. Verbal, mathematical, and graphical. Now, be able to understand the different processes used in industry center applications. Go. Next page. Again, this is about mathematics. Able to communicate mathematical ideas accurately, precisely, and effectively. That is somewhat wrong because it is completely vague. Now, able to understand and analyze problems and to form independent judgments. Able to understand mathematics. These are all vague one. It's not a new document. Again, gain exposure to various areas of mathematics and related fields such as computer science, operational research, etc. And you are going to convert these English-like statements into mathematical values, and that is how we do mapping. Yes. So this is about the POs, PSOs, and COs. Already you have started writing. Again, there should be some structural differences. That's all. You will sit together, think about all those COs, and then if time permits, at a little later point of time, you do some kind of iteration so that you can refine it. I'm going to come to mapping right now. Can I have the board please here? Backbenchers. There's no document called that. Yes. H20. Go back to H20. To take a CO book 2017-18. CO book 2017-18. Right. Now this is basically a mapping that has been done for an engineering program. Now, this is familiar, right? COs. Can you switch off? This is familiar, COs, right? This is the structure. Now that is a course code HS 8151. We have the course name, the course outcome. Now please copy one structure. This is very essential structure, right? And you have 5. See, you have 6 COs here. I think they have taken 6 COs for the entire BTech program. This is a BTech program course. And see, you have C101.1. I think they have separate course outcomes also. C101.1, 101.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. This is familiar for all of you, right? Okay. Wait. Yes. K stands for knowledge. Understood? I'll tell you the legends first. PO1, PO2, you know. PS also, you know. Here this week. 9, 10, 11, there is PS also. Can you come now? Come up. No, they have only here this. PSO1, PSO2, PSO3. So they have taken the standard graduate attribute 12 POs plus additional 3 PSOs. Now this is course outcomes C1, C2, C3. If you have a course code 101, it is 101.1, 101.2, 101.3 up to 101.5. In your case, this is clear? Yes. Right. This is level of CO. Now, what is applicable for us? It is L1, L2. It is L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, L6. Because we are calculating only the knowledge domain. These people have calculated 2 domains. One is knowledge domain and the other one is affective domain. Understood? Affective stands for A, K stands for knowledge. For our case, we are only considering knowledge domain. So that is actually not required. The entire CO statements, CO document will be only K. So omit it. If it is A, you will also have to add A. If there is a psychomotor domain, you will also have to add P. Now, this is the standard format. Now, can you go to that 101 CO? What is the 101 CO? Which is the course? I forgot the course. It is communicative English. Now, the first CO is enable the development in sharing information about family and friends. English people can help me. Enable the development in students will be able to enable the development in sharing information about family and friends. And they say, or the teachers finally say that it affects PO9, PO10, PO12. PO10 and PO12 only. Not in any other POs or PSOs. This has to be judiciously thought about by the teachers. What all POs does the COs have an effect? COs have an influence. Let's say, for example, critical thinking, which almost all COs, the entire COs would have an impact on critical thinking. Some COs would not be having an impact on effective communication. Only certain COs will have an impact on effective communication. Some COs will not be directly related with lifelong learning. Of course, indirectly, but not directly. So it is the teachers and the people who are preparing the COs to think about and frame a judicious mix of whichever POs and which all PSOs your COs are going to affect. I don't have a concrete answer. You understood? Yes or no? I'll repeat once again. Start thinking. Now, you know how to frame COs. And you have 5 COs with you right now. Out of these 5 COs, or let us take the first CO. See, proficiency in writing technical articles and presenting papers on any topic of any theme, right? That affects in communication, directly affects in communication. It affects in lifelong learning. it has an impact on critical thinking. Likewise, the teachers have to think about which all POs and PSOs your COs are going to have a linkage. No, I am just taking a sample for engineering institutes. For arts and science colleges or for science courses, you can devise your. That's why I asked you to make the POs very simple. If you make it very complex, you will find it very much difficult to link with POs and PSOs. That is why the entire whole document has to be very simple and precise. So that part is left to teachers. I don't have a concrete answer for everything, but because it depends on your conditions and how you teach. If you are teaching the social perspective, it will have an impact on global citizenship. That is one PO, one possible PO. If you are not giving a global perspective in your instruction, leave that. It depends on your perspective on how you take the instruction. So that part is left to you. I will do the mapping right now. Now,
it is possible that all the course objectives do not add up to programs.
It is. Wherever you have gaps, you will have to do some add-on programs or remedial measures later. There are two areas where you can do remedial measures. One, once you finish the result attainment, you will have a gap. Gap of what you expected and what is attained. There you can do remedial measures. The second one is that if some COs are not linking with all your POs, those POs which are not linked also can be linked using these kind of certificate and add-on programs. That is actually the correct crux of add-ons and certificate programs. And that has to be assessed properly also.
But how do we show that in mapping?
It's not shown in mapping. It is shown as remedial measures. Not here. Whatever you show here is actually part of curriculum approved by university.
Here it will be blank, but
there you will have corrective measures. You will have a document additional, that is addendum document, showing that these all gaps have been identified. And we have done corrective measures. Understood? Are you getting my point? Yes. So, let's say I have PO1, PO2, PO3, then I have PSO1, PSO2, PSO3. CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, CO5. Let's assume that your first CO has a linkage on PO1. Please listen. Has a linkage on PO1 and PO3, and also with PSO3. This is blank, this is blank, this is blank. Yes. I'm going to come to that also. Yes, I'll add one more column. Levels. Thank that you reminded. Levels. The levels is group taxonomy level. Now, your CO1 has a linkage with PO1. That is you to find this, not me to find this. An external party cannot find this that. It depends on the teachers who teach it. Let's assume we have a linkage with PO1, you have a linkage with PO3, and you have a linkage with PSO3. And you started writing the COs with the level 2 work. Give me level 2 work. And what is that verb? Understand it's a verb. You can use n number of verbs, no? I call it as K2. That is knowledge level 2. Or to be very simple, U. What is U? That means seeing this, I can understand that this CO is going to be tested in the understand level. You have a testing part also. After the entire framing, you have a testing part. During assessment, you will ask your students to, I don't remember exactly all those verbs, but you will ask a question to your students. Classify something. Which forms? It should match.
If we go through some mathematics or everything, you say define some terms.
That you say.
But define terms in level 6.
Yes, but you have multiple intentions also. First part is define, second part is prove something. Define this and prove something. Or define something and construct something. Or equate something to something. Mostly it is like that because we all think only in lots.
Define comes to level 6. So
Also, but that define and the defining level 2 is different. That define is define and create something.
But in level 2 words, we don't find the word defined.
See, I have given a book, I have given a horoscope, you know, which has a clear-cut understanding of the old and new verbs. New verbs. That is available in Google. I do not spend much time on that verbs and all. But whatever verb is there, this is understand level. Now, CO1 is going to be tested in understand level. Clear? Yes or no? Clear? Yes. Yes. Now, regarding the values, which means this is not linked, this is not linked, the PSO2 is not linked. Leave all those three. We only have to link with three outcome statements. That is a 2 PO statements and 1 PSO statement. Now, the next part is why did you link CO1 with PO1? You had some key indicators in your course that linked your CO with PO. I call it KI, key indicators, or otherwise also called as PI, performance indicators. Performance indicators. Let's say, for example, subject I should take. I go again computer science. Yeah, modeling. Modeling of an application using some computer science terminologies. And you are linking modeling, that is the first CO, which can be a first CO. You are assuming it as a first CO, and you are having a linkage with PO1. Now my next point is, how much hours did I spend? There are two methods. The first method I will tell you. How much hours did I spend in this key indicator? How much percentage of time did I spend in this key indicator? That is one method. The other method is, what is my expectation from student? Is it an introductory level expectation, or a moderate level expectation, or a mastery level expectation? Again, the control is with the teachers. Depends on how you expect from students. Understood? Two ways. One, that you can calculate this value. You can come at a value, come to this point using how many hours you spend for that particular key indicator. In some cases, it would be confused. So in that case, you can directly go for what is your expectation from student. Finally, it is something related to expectation. Because you are expecting something, and then in the examination assessment part, you are checking whether the expectation has been met. Understood? So the expectation values are 1, 2, and 3, or can be 0. This is the professor was also mentioning. Leave about 0, because 0 stands for this unlinked POs and PSOs. So it is either 1, either 2, or maximum of 3. 1 stands for light or very less expectation, little expectation. 2 stands for moderate expectation, and 3 stands for substantially high expectation. Who is going to decide? You are going to decide. It depends on your instruction delivery. It depends on how much time you spend for that particular knowledge structure. It depends on your expectation about that particular student going to perform it. The assessment process. It also depends on the stage of the program. You cannot have a lesser expectations in semester 4, 5 and 6. You'll also have to go with the higher order thinking skill in semester 4, 5 and 6, at least in semester 5 and 6. You'll also have to go for a higher order thinking skill in master's program, because it is a master's program, not an undergraduate program. So it depends on the program, depends on the stage at which you are standing, and depends on the student expectations. Now one question will arrive. My student expectation is very less. It's always on a lower order thinking. It could be possible on the first stage. But on subsequent cycles, all these ones have to be converted to twos, and twos have to be converted to threes. So as far as our explanation discussion is finalized, let's say I am expecting a moderate value as a teacher. These are all my numbers, so you can have your own numbers. I am expecting a moderate value 2. In this PO3, I am expecting very little, 1. This is again 2. You know how to arrive at this number, right? Likewise, you will have a set of figure looking like this, which will have either a value of 3, either a value of 2, or even maybe you can have a value of 1. All these blanks are going to be zeros, so zeros doesn't count. That's why we have omitted it. You understood this? Yes or no? This is the first part of mapping. And what you have to finally do is, you have to take an average of CO5, let us say I have put 2. Yes, madam.
Numbers you are saying at 2 or 3 or 1. How to quantify it?
This is what I said. We have levels of 1, 2, and 3, and based on the expectations. Again, expectations can be very much precise in terms of performance indicators. You know, that is what I mentioned, that term performance indicator. What kind of performance is a student giving to you on the questions, on the assessment patterns? Yes, sir.
Actually, we have followed another method, sir. We have subtracted PO work.
That was the older method that was devised when the OB started. But right now, the NAC insists on this kind of method. Either you have to go for number of hours, you have to go for the expectations. Now, you cannot have one more thing. You cannot have understand category here and have a high expectation. There is also an image. If you are having an apply, you always should have at least a moderate expectation, not a high. High means analyze and create. And the appropriate verbs that you use for framing the questions also should in such a way that you use that particular verbs on a higher order of thinking skills. Now we have arrived at this table. So you understood how these values came, right? So please follow this value, this methodology hereafter, because this is little very simple. The other method of subtracting and multiplying and calculating and all is a very lot of time. Yes.
You also mentioned that it can be in terms of hours.
It can be in terms of hours, but then when you design or estimate in terms of hours, your hour management also should be much more precise. How much time you spend for one particular key indicator, how much time you spend for another key indicator. Again, a serious time is involved. That's why I asked all of you to go to this methodology. Now we have this table right now, like similar to what it has been written there. Now listen. This is the average one. Now till 1 to 6, it has been calculated here. Now how did you arrive at 3? The average is 3. For getting this value, what is the total value of this column? 4. How many POs? How many set of COs did it affect? 2, which means 4 by 2 equal to 2. This is the CO average coming up. Here, what is that? Divided by 2 is 1.5. 5 divided by? What is it by? 1 point? Mathematics people. 3 to 6, 6 divided by 3 is again 2. 2 divided by 3, 1.5. 2, 1, 1, 4 divided by 3 is again 1.1.33. I made a mistake. Don't bother that. This is arbitrary bias arithmetic. You understood? Yes. You understood. Now, likewise, it comes to the last page. Wait. Yeah, you go to the last page. Last. Yeah, it is 82 pages. You go to the 82nd page. Likewise, you will have to frame the entire course mapping. Yes. All COs are not connecting with every POs and PSOs. There is a gap also happening, no? So in that case, you will have to find some other alternative mechanisms or measures to address the COs. Yes. What you expect the student to perform? Yes, because the entire process will devised by a teacher. Understood? Your thought process is much more required here. You evaluate. Yes, actually, we are coming to that point. Okay. See, next, before previous page, one more page. One more. Yes. See the first course. We were discussing about communicative English and we took an average. See the average here. Now, one slight difference in the document is that they have taken rounded average. But we are not going to take a rounded average. We are going to take the actual average. In some other cases, we can take rounded average. We will discuss that a little later. As of now, we are going to take what? The actual average. You understood? Anybody has confusion on this mapping table right now? No. Please write your mapping table for particular course that you have reached. Start. Yeah. Start measuring at least for one course. 5 COs. By doing only you will learn. This is a session of OBE. Structure right now is have stable right now. Yes. I've taken 5 COs and my POs are 3, no? It may not match later, but the number of POs that we have fixed is 5, no? In your case, how much it is? We are going to finally fix it as 5. Minimum 5, 5 POs, 3 PSOs, and 5 COs. Right. That's why I didn't touch about POs because it is part of institutional profiling. But the entire CEO actually promoted it. That's because you have trained the CEOs and then review with POs, not the other way. How should it be? You have to have the POs first, then the POs first, then the CEOs. There is no continuity. What was expected purpose? What is expected purpose? What is expected purpose? Value of assessment. What are higher values? But if you have a continuation purpose of process, you will have higher values. That's the problem with resolution committee. But then you also can have some add-on buttons, right? So that your base PO values can be, your CO values can be increased later. Right. Right. Understood. So it is always on the lower side. That is going to be one issue that you have to point out with the derivative process. Yes, yes. But when we start mapping, we have to convert all those values into mathematical terms. Once you finish your mapping with your set courses, we assess that. Can you go for the higher level? Yes, yes, yes. It is better to have fewer POs because when you start writing the question papers, framing the question papers, you will be in trouble. It is very generic. Attainment should be easy in the first cycle, but on the subsequent years, you have to increase the level of POs and PSOs. That's what I was telling. Right? Yeah, let's finish this and go to the question. I would request all of you to go to your course and do a mapping. And I'm sure all of you will be getting a value close to 2.5, less than 2.5, might be. Generally, see one question, very interesting question from one professor, from madam. As the CO1 to be in the lower level or the higher level. Why? Why it should be in the lower level? I agree once you give me the justification. Your answer is partially right. First units are generally basic units. Understood? Because it is unit wise. If it was on the other side, if it was on the other side like knowledge structures, it could be different. But since we are having a unit-wise structure on the syllabus, that is a linear model of syllabus, we always tend to have basics in the first and second units, and then slowly, gradually increase your level of expectation in the third unit, fourth unit, and fifth unit. And fifth unit could be something somewhere between the apply and analyze, 3 and 4. Not necessary, depends on courses, right? But if it is a master's course, it would be PhD because that is the final course. Any questions?
In some courses, all units are basic. All because they are learning.
Yeah, in some, let's say some programs, some courses, you will have a lot of basics in. It's actually a mix of 5 different subjects putting into one curriculum. Understood, understood. That means the mapping value would be somewhere between 1.5. Yes, yes, yes. That is why I asked you to take the correct point rather than rounding it. No. It depends on the courses. It depends on the courses. Yes. Yes. Now you are getting the point. You are coming to the track right now. Now, please listen. Now, once you finish the entire set of courses, the mapping process, you will have something similar to this document. This document is actually the other. This table is actually called as course mapping table, CO/PO mapping table. This is actually called as program articulation matrix. This is program articulation matrix. And to reach this, you have to do this. Understood? So we have course CO/PO mapping matrix followed by the PAM, program articulation matrix. And we have taken the average of particular POs. Right? We have PSO average, PSO 3 average, the PSO 2 average, the PSO 1 average, PO 3 average, PO 2 average, PO 1 average. We all have averages. And from this and from that, we are going to calculate the CO actual attainment values, estimation values, and the attainment values in the examination. Right. So can you come? Last page. Now see, one interesting thing. Last row, please. Last row. What is that? Project work. See the values. See, much of the values having the maximum level because their project work are designed in such a way that they touch upon all the POs, all the outcome statements, all the POs and PSOs. See, everywhere it is affected. Because the projects are designed in such a way that once you finish the project as a last part of the course, you get an idea about all those outcomes. So your project work has to be evaluated in such a way that it has a rubrics of all those POs and PSOs. Currently, how do we evaluate a project? We look at a project, a student presents the project, you put something like 80% marks or 90% marks. That's all. Nothing to do with outcomes. Hereafter, you have to go with outcome statements also. You have some questions, sir? It is part of curriculum, right? Yes. Anything that is part of curriculum has to be brought here. Anything that is not part of curriculum should not be brought. That is additional. And one more thing, I forgot it. So some outcome statements will touch upon level 1, level 2, and level 3. In that case, you have to use the higher one, whichever is the higher. That means if you have understand and apply here itself, then what you have to write is only apply. Because if it is applied, the other two is by default understood. It is there. Don't go for the understand, apply, remember everything. Go for the higher one. Whichever is higher. And it is your responsibility now to test the student with remember, understand, and apply. In all COs, the apply is the highest one. You will have part A, part B, part C, no? So part A you can go for remember. Part B you can go for understand. Part C you can go for apply, but apply testing is compulsory because your final objective is applied. Understood? So this has a linkage with how you frame the question paper. Yes, that has a direct relationship with how you frame the question papers. And now you are getting the seriousness of how to prepare a question papers in terms of the alignment with outcomes. Much of our questions that we frame in the question paper are actually of the lower order thinking skills. What is that? Which is this? How is this? Why is this? Match the following. You are not going from the lower order thinking skill to the higher order thinking skill, and finally you are saying my student is not performing well. Whose fault? It is your fault. Because you have planned the outcome statements, you have designed the instruction delivery, you have done the delivery, and then you are testing only the basics, testing only the first two levels, means your assessment has gone wrong somewhere. Yesterday, Professor was mentioning about formative assessment and summative assessment. Both is required. Not the formative assessment alone, not the summative assessment alone. Since you are all on affiliated tracks, university will be going only for summative assessments. With a little bit portion of formative assessments. I understand it is 80-20, right? 20% formative assessment and 80%. My institution is 40-60. That is, we have much more control on the students. 40% internal assessments and 60% external summation in semester exams. And out of the 40% internal examinations, we do experimentations in terms of quizzes, in terms of MCQs, in terms of small projects. Every course we ask them to do projects. Because by projects, their attainment would be high. Understood? Even if you teach one full semester, full content on a particular C programming or some other programming, they will understand the nuances of what of programming languages only if they do a project. And we find time. Now the question is, how do you find time? The entire question that is going to happen in the last session of today is, how do we find time? You have to find time. You have to find time. You have to manage your own time. Then only this will happen. Right. So we have the program attribution metrics. In your case, it could be something like 36 programs, approximately. 6 programs per semester into 6 semesters could be something like 36 programs. 36 courses, not programs. 36 courses per program. In PG, it could be something like 6 for 24. Could be. 4 semesters into 6 courses, right? Maybe slight difference, plus or minus 5%. That's all. So you will finally have a document that looks similar to this document. And by just seeing this document, you can identify which all subjects or courses in your terms have weak linkages with POs and strong linkages with POs. The ones that are lesser than 2 are going to have weak linkages with POs, and the ones that are much higher than 2 is going to be a strong linkage with POs and PSOs. Now I would suggest in subsequent revision, what you should do, you have to touch only the courses that have lesser linkage and bring those courses to a fair. Not like restructuring afresh. It's not like that. Touch upon all those courses where you have a weak linkage. Introduce contents in such a way that your weak linkage is converted to at least a moderate linkage or a high linkage. Which means syllabus revision also requires a hectic kind of workshop. That's why it is called a syllabus revision workshop. But normally that doesn't happen. It is also a syllabus revision workshop where the syllabus revision people sit together, discusses about the outcomes, discusses about the possible POs and PSOs, and then analyzing your previous syllabus, try to find out where you have the gaps. But that generally doesn't happen in university scenario, except in maybe in IITs or IIMs, they might be doing it. Now you got what are the pitfalls of our existing system, right? You are getting an idea about the whole lot of pitfalls that we have in the university system. If you have a proper idea about COs, if you have a proper idea about your PSOs and POs, the first year it is difficult. Everything you need to document it, you need to formulate it, you need to spend time to frame. But from second year onwards, your work becomes half done. Because you know what is the program, what exactly you are intending, what all things to be taught, how to be taught, and what is the expectation from students. For that, the course COPO mapping matrix, the course matrix, and the program application matrix is compulsory. And only with CO matrix and PO matrix you can go for attainment values. Now I will show you one question paper also on file for the MTech CS.
Sir, do institutions ever modify program outcomes?
After one cycle, after one batch gets out of the campus, you can do it. Again, it depends on your vision. Yeah, right. Now see, this is a very good syllabus that I have found out from the internet. You know, you go to the first page, please. Second page, please, not first page. First page. That's the second page, right? This program, this is actually for the MTech program in electrical and electronics engineering. And you have the vision and mission. I assume that all the departments have their department vision and mission, right? And your department mission and mission is aligned with the institution vision and mission. Right, fine. Half work is over. Yeah, they are PEOs. This is engineering college, so they are required PEOs. Leave it. Again, the POs, right? See the POs. It is all standard POs set by IQAC and NBA. Critical thinking, domain knowledge, problem solving, research skill, usage of modern tools, collaborative and multidisciplinary work. These are all standard POs, very generic POs set by IQAC and NBA. Yeah, come on. Ethical practices, it should be 12 POs, right? Independent 11 POs. Next page. See the scheduling of courses. Not like any one paper studying in any particular semester. It's not like that. You have a sequential order of a flow of knowledge from semester 1 till semester 6, or to semester 8. Now, credits are mentioned here. Please, slowly. Up. Come on. You go to some of the pages, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait. Yeah, this is lecture hours. Okay. See, this you have to set it at first. Understood? How many kind of tests you are going to do? What are the assessment tools that you are going to use? How much percentage of weightage that you have? See, for the duration of terminal examination is 3, continuous assessment, how much marks, terminal examination, how much marks, what is the maximum marks, minimum marks for pass, everything has been clearly mentioned. This is a document that is circulate among students, which means the entire course, when the first year student comes up, the entire program metrics have to be completed. This has to be completed. The syllabus have to be copied down, and then you have to circulate that document among the students, including sample questions. Come, go please. What is number? Come on. Might have to do now. Right. Yeah. See, the course preamble, the prerequisites of a particular course, the course outcomes on successful completion of this particular course, what you are going to do, the levels, the mapping outcomes. See, it's a huge document, not a simple document. But with this understanding of this document, a student will get a clear idea about what is the outcome that he is going to finally get, or what is intended from it. Now, see, Go please. The assessment pattern, whether how much number of tests are going to be in the remember category, how much questions, how much amount of questions are going to be in the understand category, is a part of continuous assessment 1, 2, or 3. See, if you go to the third part, your first two levels are getting very less. This is the last test probably. So the understand level, the remember level and all, very less percentage. See, 70% in apply level because it's an engineering program. And the weightage of terminal examination, please. Now see, along with all these tables, you are also going to give them the sample questions, and that too in the order of COs, not like part A, part B, part C, part D. It is in the order of COs. See, this is a remember category, define something. Now, when you move the courses down, COs, see, it is all like problems. It is all like problems because the level of expectation is little high. It's not like remember and understand. It is apply, analyze, and evaluate. See, questions, all questions. See, just by seeing these questions, we can understand that the level of students are also slowly increasing. And we need to frame these kind of questions in the handbook. You have a handbook for first year, right? This has to be included into the handbook. The course outcomes, the POs, PSOs, mapping structure, loop taxonomy assessment pattern, which actually forms part of the job of every teacher as part of teaching. That's why I said for the first year, it is going to be a huge task. And along with this, you also have to maintain something called as question banks, wherein asking or framing questions manually would be very difficult because you have to test each and every CO. If you have 5 COs and 5 COs are in 3 different levels, if it is an apply level, let's assume that we have a CO in apply level, you are also intended to test him on the lower levels as well. That is, if you have apply level, you also have to test him in remember level and understand level. Because that forms part of the smaller marks. The applied level forms part of the higher marks. You cannot start with an essay question, no? So you require some MCQs or some, there is a uniform pattern for every question paper. And for that, you have to use the lower level expectation values, the L1s, L2s. And for higher order questions, you will have to use the higher order values. Now see, how will your question paper look like? It won't look like part A, part B, part C, part D. It will look like questions related to CO1, CO2, CO3, CO4, and CO5. Now, please go back to the document. Many people had more than 7 COs and more than 5 to 6 POs. How are you going to frame the question paper? Just by seeing the question paper, the student fails. You understood? So that is why we should have a judicious mix of a small amount of questions, not small amount of COs and small amount of PO and PSO. In the first stage, gradually you can increase. I was not doing any regular program at IIT except my PhD, but I have heard that the MTech program and PhD, the question paper consists of 30 pages and 3 hours. Because the number of COs are more. It's all higher orders, except from 1 or 2 pages. The rest everything is going to go to higher order. Maybe out of 100 marks, you will get 20 marks the MCQs, or maybe remember, understand. The rest 80% is going to be apply, analyze, and create. And that is one reason why those students from IITs are considered as cream students. So you understood the process till now, right? How you map it, how you create something called as program application metrics, and how you take the average. Now one more thing, the previous document, the mapping. Yes. Now, one more role is missing here. You also need to take the average of POs. How do you take average of POs? You calculate all these values, how many courses it is affected, divided by total number of courses affected, then you get some value. Again, that value is going to be lesser than 3. That is the weighted average. This is also a weighted average. So you need to calculate the weighted average first. And then with this weighted average, we are going to see how you get the attainment. That at the afternoon session. I'll take a bit of questions also, and then we will move to the important activity of taking lunch. And then we will go to the last session. Which evaluators? It is already defined. We need not evaluate, let somebody else evaluate, because we have predefined rules and regulations for what to test. What to test? Yeah, it's already there. Your keywords are in such a way that you are expecting what? The 2 and 3, not 1. That is why primary institutions like IITs, IIMs, and NITs, you have teaching assistants who does evaluation, not the teachers. Their job is over once the process formulation and planning is over. Understood? Yes, I can take some more questions, or else leave for lunch. Yes.
Pretty much most colleges will have this course objectives.
Yes, yes.
Now, if we do adopt, specific exactly the way that you have proposed this, does this directly map to any NAAC criteria?
Is it good that you take a set of CEOs from another institution and frame it as your institution? Will it work? Why? The conditions are different. The kind of faculties are different. The resources are different. The student intake is different. Yeah. So you cannot have a one size fits all. You cannot have that. You have to have your own set of POs, PSOs, and COs. Yes. I do not know whether it is taxing. It is actually increasing the level of students, because that finally the students have to be accommodated into at least one. Yeah, first time you can start with average students and let your values be very less. Increase their value, increase their IQ level, increase their competency level. Let them get placed in good companies, and slowly what happens? Your course gets demand, and gradually, yes, that's it. Yeah, next part. Next part. Finish it with every 1 second now. After lunch, till the allowed time, I will be dealing with attendance and question paper setting also, right? Thank you for the time being. We'll meet at what time, sister? What time?
I take the privilege of thanking you once again, sir, for sharing your expertise and quality time on sharing the characteristics of OBE, effective learning, and instructional delivery learning, framing, and mapping, and also what a teacher's vision and mission has to be in building the future generation. And you all would accept certainly that our speaker, a very active and enthusiastic person, who has made everyone sit at the edge of the seat, working busy with the mapping of CO and PO. Thank you once again, sir. And ultimately, education in its real sense is a pursuit of truth. It is endless journey towards knowledge and enlightenment. With this, I sign off for the morning session. Thank you. Now let us all join for the lunch and a photograph session in the ground floor. Thank you. And please be back at 1:45 for another interesting session. Thank you.
Soumya. Rajeev, will you announce in that chat box now? We will reopen the Zoom section at 1:45. session will be we started at the అప్పుడు కొంచెం ప్లేస్ ఇస్తే మేము వెళ్తాం ప్యాక్ చేసేయడం